Welcome to Very Honored Frater BT's Esoterinnerd Podcast, episode 115, in which I interview Amandeep Singh for the third time. But first, Transformations and Footnotes. It's one of Amandeep's favorites. Now, last time we left off in the episode with Ryan Villa? I've been saying Villa. That's how we talk in Los Angeles. We say Los Angeles instead of whatever you're supposed to say. I'm going to go ahead and repeat the part that I read in the episode with Ryan, because otherwise it won't really make much sense. This is Transformations by Dan Reib, Chapter 6, Verse 1. Among flowers, among trees, among coral, among animated creatures of other sorts, there are many different kinds. Among stars, among planets, among galaxies, among microbes, there are many different kinds. That's the way it is in universe, between sunlight and sun clips, and beyond sunlight and sun clips. There are many different kinds. Verse 2. You and I know that. It's obvious. Imagine, though, if you will, a person who despises all flowers but one color of one kind. Maybe it is because he or she has a great experience of the oneness with, around, or because of the one kind, and thereupon forsakes all others, and thereupon sets out to destroy all others. Is this really useful? Verse 3. Surely people have their favorite kinds, and favorite ones of favorite kinds. That's the way many journeyers are, and the way many flesh-place fear junkies are. Verse 4. Yet there are those who would take away life from every kind of something but one or a few, because of their creation of preferences. These ones are stuck on make rights and make wrongs. They have a game, taking away aliveness in the interest of survival. Verse 5. It is as if they are like a hermit stuck in a dungeon with plenty of food and water for many years, till he forgot what light was like. Somebody threw him a match. He lit it, said, "Aha!" He lit some straw afire and beheld the light, and thought that he had found it. Soon the light went out, and he was in darkness and disappointment again, having burned himself with flaming straw. Verse 6. Then, a bit later, just after he had lost all hope, someone threw him a long life cell flashlight. He'd committed himself for a long time and had never seen one of these before. He turned it on, and it glowed for a long time, though he had long ago lost sense of clock time. He hyped himself into believing that it was the light of the universe. close there for today. Amandeep Singh. Wow. What a character. What a person. What a wizard. What a kindred spirit. I remember once, years ago, I was on surfing around one of the, I don't know if it was Golden Dawn Universum or one of those Golden Dawn forum type groups on Facebook, and I saw Amandeep Singh, and the thing I remember him saying was, "I appreciate Crowley's writing, but I don't consider him a prophet." And I had never imagined that an Indian man in India would be aware at all of Aleister Crowley, let alone have digested and formulated such an opinion on him. So I, at that moment, wrote to him and invited him to come on the podcast. And so he did, and that was years ago. So in this episode, we discuss, I think the thing that'll be of most interest to a lot of viewers and listeners is self-initiation onto the Aghori path. That's going to be intriguing for you, no doubt. So, points discussed: essence of Aghor, meaning of Aghor, difference between Ghor and Aghor, rites and rituals in Aghor, about Vajrayana, that's mostly me talking, you might have heard a lot of that before in previous episodes, difference between Mahayana, Theravada, and Vajrayana. A little bit about Thomas and the Wolf, actually a ton of spoilers about Thomas and the Wolf, so if you haven't read it, and you might read it one day, that's my first book, then I'll be letting you know when the spoilers are coming, and you can skip a little bit so you don't find out all the fun stuff. About Sir John Dan Reib, as he refers to him, Transformations and Yogi Bhajan, and the Game of Primal Forces, the Sacred Agreements. The Game of Primal Forces is Amandeep's book, which you can find linked to in the description below. H.P. Lovecraft and his works, the Interdimensional Coffeehouse, that's one of my fictional works, and its spiritual essence. Self-initiation into various paths and its importance, and a little bit about sacred mountain places and Mount Kailash in particular, as well as the ancient Aghor self-initiation rite. And so, without further ado, actually, before we get to that, I'm going to do a little something I like to call pulling a Bennett. All right, that might have been amusing for some of you. Actually, I pulled a Bennett a long time ago. That's basically where you go to India and you don't come back. Okay, and so now, without further ado, let's get to that interview, shall we? Good to see you.
Nice. Good to see you too. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm doing fine as well.
That's great. Oh,
Nice to see you, mate.
Nice to see you. I like the it's, what's that called? The Sikh symbol?
Yeah. This is the Sikh symbol, and we are wearing black, and this cloth is taken because it's symbol of Aghori initiation.
Interesting. I'm also wearing a
Just
Sikh
like
symbol.
Yeah, exactly. That's beautiful. That's Kada.
Yes. And here present with us,
Tan Guru Nanak Sahib.
Have you been through that initiation, the Aghori initiation?
Yeah.
Wow.
Since a long time, I've been following the Indian forms of wizardry arts, and Aghori is the main. And a few years back, I took the initiation officially. Otherwise, there's another way. Till the time you don't find the guru, you mentally connect to the Shivling, the Shiva Ling symbol.
Okay.
And there are some, kind of letters that you write to the Lord itself. Yeah. And because Shiva is called the primordial guru. So if there is no guru, then you can make Bhairav or Shiva your guru. Yeah. And he taught Mother Parvati as well. He taught Goddess Kali as well. So Mother Parvati got the power of Kali with the help of Shiva Guru.
There's one name that he has. It's not Bodhanath, or maybe it is something Nath, where when he's in his form as the leader of
Adinath. The first Nath is
yes.
Adinath. Yeah. Adinath is the first Nath. The second form from which the Nath lineage starts is Adinath first. Second is Machendranath, the student. And then Machendranath got the boon from Shiva that, yes, I will come as your student in my next life form, which was Guru Gorakhnath.
Oh, Gorakhnath. Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of. The Pew was describing a time when he raised the dead, or when all of the ghosts were following him. It reminded me a bit. Have you seen Lord of the Rings? Those 3 movies?
Yeah.
The Return of the King.
Those are legendary movies.
Return of the King, where he finally takes up the sword, and then the ghost army is following him. Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of a recognizable image that people can think of for Gorakhnath.
Gorakhnath, exactly.
Now, what was the situation? I mean, I hope you don't mind me taking the conversation in a weird direction right away, but he was fighting someone?
Well, that complete story I don't know, but there are many instances, not just one. Not just one. There are many instances in which he raised the dead. Sometimes to ask the questions of their life story, that why did this happen? Because it was, you can say it was the written script of the Lord, and it was the written script of the fate that Guru Gorakhnath has to come. There is a saint which will come, and that saint is going to raise you from dead, and then he will ask you the story of your life, and then you will recite your story, and then he will deliver you from this pain, and you will be the only you can say a point, and kind of milestone from which the real event is going to happen. Real event is not that person who is going to be raised from the dead, but he got the boon. Many a times there were a lot of devotees who were killed by evil kings. So raising that devotee from dead is not the real event. He got the boon from Lord Shiva that Gorakhnath will come and he will raise you from dead, and the real event will happen, which is killing that king, that evil king.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Now, Aghori, I mean, of course, I think the people who are familiar with Aghori are familiar with the guys that hang out in the, the cemetery, the ashes.
Cemeteries, yes.
Sometimes they do forbidden things. They sort of left-hand path tantra things like eat the dead. I mean, I hesitate to ask, but is there anything you can share that you went through for your initiation, and did it involve any of these taboos?
Well, there are 2 paths, Aghori is the ancient one. Now, what is Aghor? First of all, I would like to explain what is Aghor. It is the very deep essence of bhakti, extreme. But, to be extreme, you gotta be very neutral. I mean, just go into the psychology. Child does not have any issues with anyone. Nothing is good or bad for him, you know?
Yeah.
He does not even identify.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
They told me when I was young, when I started going to the bathroom by myself, hope people don't mind me telling this story, but anyway, don't get any of this poop in your mouth, and so I was like, well, why not? What's so bad? And so when I was alone, the door was closed one day, and I was, old enough to go by myself, and I had some on my hand, And
Yeah.
I found out firsthand that okay, don't ever do that again in your life. But I still
Yeah.
remember the taste, and I was about 3 years old. But I can attest to that yeah, as an adult,
Yeah.
we sort of we absorb these tattoos or these these taboos or these
Taboos. Yeah.
yeah. But the baby doesn't have any taboos.
Baby doesn't have any taboos,
Yeah.
and he's neutral. And who is Aghor? Now I'm going to tell you who is Aghor. One aspect of life, according to the Western philosophy of occult, it is quite related. You know, one is macrocosm, and one is microcosm. Yeah, as above, so below. So one is the below, one is the above. One is the manifested one, and one is the unmanifested, which will remain the same always. And one is dynamic, which is the same thing, but it will keep on changing the shapes and sizes or whatever forms, you know. So one is formless, and the same energy is got manifested into different forms, and it will keep changing the forms. And it's dynamic. So whatever is changing is ghor. It's ghor.
Oh, so means not.
Yeah, means not. It's simple and it's neutral.
Okay.
So it is completely simple, subtle, simple, and very easy, you know. So Aghor is not difficult, you know. But to reach that state, an Aghor has to achieve the mind that he does not identify the difference between urine and Ganga Jal.
Right.
And
Crowley
also there are
was tapping
medicinal
into a
things.
little bit of that, I think. Some of
Yeah.
the things that horrify, the traditional Golden Dawners and other Christians and sorts when they find out that he was saying, people, congratulations, you're almost finished, you're almost a master, but first I need you to eat this bowl of refuse, this bowl of poop. And they had to do it, as part of their initiation to show that they have no limits. It's an unusual way of doing that. I don't necessarily recommend that, but I kind of can see where he was coming from, and he probably was informed a bit by the Aghor, I would imagine.
Yeah. Might be because these kind of rituals have been associated with some medicinal things as well. I don't know how did they knew. Aghori is a kind of scientist as well, because a Nath lineage, they live in groups. Naths, they live in groups. They live in with their disciples, you know. But Aghori is alone. They are more like mad scientists. They will keep on, experimenting, here and there and whatever, So dark things and everything and all the dark energies and lower things and higher things, all walk with them. So whole powers of cemetery walks with them. So if they are experimenting, those energies are also experimenting on an Aghori.
Right, yeah. If you look into the void looks back.
The void looks back. Yeah, exactly. So that is what is happening there. And might be the new that, you yourself would know that a lot of medicines in Chinese herbal are made by your own urine, and a lot of sexual problems in men are corrected by boiling their urine, and then they take out the residue and make pills out of it, something like that. They add herbs as well, but information, the minute information of our DNA. And by drinking the urine, you are communicating to your mind that no, you have committed one mistake. You have done one mistake, that these were necessary nutrients and you have not absorbed those. Now I drink my urine once again, and I command you that all those necessary nutrients shall be inside me from now on. You're like commanding many a times. So with consuming their stool in different ways, they used to do the same ritual for their
Yeah.
body, mind, and soul. And in spiritual terms, consuming the stool means if you have accepted the filthiest thing, source, then that thing is yours, you know. Obviously, he's going to give you struggles. Obviously, that supreme force is going to test you. If you have consumed the filthiest thing, you know, you do not see any difference between holy water and that stool, you know,
Right.
then you are completely neutral, you know, then nothing can affect you. That is the main philosophy, you know.
And then, of course, in India, the sacred cow's urine and dung are used medicinally as well.
Exactly. And even in our fire rites that we do in Aghor, we use cow dung. I have a lot of cow dung up there in my worship place. And we burn the cow dung with camphor and we set ablaze the fire of Aghor and invite all the powers inside those flames.
Wow. Okay. I think we're back, right?
Yeah,
We're
we're back.
live? Okay, cool. It was also reminding me of the process of getting getting the most out of the Amanita muscaria mushroom, those red ones with the white spots. As part of it, first you eat the mushroom, and then you collect your urine,
Yeah,
and then you drink your urine. So maybe the first time around, the
yeah.
body says, "Oh, these things are going to make us hallucinate, so we'll get rid of those." And then you take it back. No, we're doing this on purpose. And then the body says, okay. I mean,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah, exactly. So our bodies are very powerful and adaptable, you know. And if you can see that there are genius and powerful sportsmen who have been able to exceed their limits, you know, people climbing Everest and people doing those things which are, you know, you're ripping off your soul and, you know, you're exceeding the limits, you know, which is not possible for everybody. But yeah, in the essence, it is possible for everybody, but everybody is not pushing the correct buttons and
Right,
not using the body correctly.
right.
That's the main thing.
And it can be hazardous to go an entire lifetime not pushing yourself and then suddenly start pushing yourself. That can actually kill you, of course.
Yeah,
You want to build up to
exactly.
Everest.
So
Start
yeah,
with the
exactly. You
Annapurna
got to
Base
build
Camp
up
trek.
slowly and steadily.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you're up in Punjab?
I see a very beautiful setup there.
Oh, thank
I am in
you.
Punjab nowadays.
I noticed some beautiful pictures of some trails recently.
Yeah.
Very
Those
nice.
are musicians sitting back there.
Oh, okay. What are their names? Or just
Oh,
musicians?
they're just sculptures from Rajasthan.
Oh, okay. Nice. I have all my mess outside of the view of the screen, but within view we have the Pure Land Buddhist Kakejiku. I think that's the name of it. It's a hanging banner with the symbols of various Pure Land Buddhist temples. They're the ones that daily they chant to Amitabha, and he's the red Buddha who
Okay.
sits in the west, and then Amitabha helps them to come into the Pure Land in their next
Yeah.
life, so that they can
Oh,
meditate without distractions and finally attain nirvana. That was a Dogen. My interest actually in Pure Land Buddhism is in that was the religion that Dogen was raised in, Ehe Dogen, who he ended up going to China and bringing Chan, which became Zen when it was brought into Japan. So he grew up Pure Land Buddhist and kind of wasn't satisfied. So he went and sought out what he considered a truer form of Buddhism, and then for him that was Zen. So
yeah.
then this other one is more of a Tendai or Tendai and one other, I think. different type of Buddhism. Here we have a Tonka painting painted by, I believe it was one of the Goyals, my friends in Kathmandu. And then, of course, my books.
Oh, yeah. Goyals, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen their pictures.
They're also from Punjab, but they're professional Tonka painters now in Kathmandu. And and for people who want, you can listen to their interview right there. Anyway, that's Sarasvati up on top of the bookshelf, of course, the knowledge. So goddess of knowledge, and there's all the knowledge.
That's great. That's beautiful.
And then off screen, I have my Christian things, including this liturgical chalice for when I want to do
chalice, yeah.
When I want to conduct mass for myself, yeah.
And kind of Holy Grail and the symbolic.
Exactly, yeah. It's very beautiful. Yeah. Very nice. So it's been 4 years, I think. The last time we did, so just for people who are watching, if you want, you can listen to the first interview with Amandeep by clicking here. Those of you who are not watching, who are on YouTube, who are not on YouTube and who are listening only, I apologize. I'm pointing at the screen and, so that's the first time. And then the second one was right here. That was when I had just arrived in India and just started dating Priyal, who has now been my wife for almost 4 years. So it's been a while.
That's beautiful. Yeah, we had a great time, and the first time we had beers together.
Yeah, exactly. Beers and cookies. So since then, you've been through a few things. You published a book, right?
Yeah, I published a book, and in that book, as I mentioned, that I was quite impressed by the book written by your father, which is Transformations. And there is a special, beautiful, awesome.
Yes.
I mean, whosoever is wanting to learn about the essence of spirituality, and especially a touch of Freemasonry, so rather than reading any nonsensical stuff, they should read this. This is actually Freemasonry. This is the essence of Freemasonry. This is the essence of spirituality. And I love the chapter, which is the most mystical thing. And yes, I agreed to the agreements, the chapter of agreements.
Yeah.
By being inspired by the chapter written by Sir Dan Reib. That was his name, I feel. Yeah. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I was quite impressed by that chapter. So I gave a tribute to him, and I wrote it in my words, what I feel about the agreements. Yes, there are agreements between higher and the lower worlds. So that is why no dark force is going to interfere in the works of the lighter, the bright side. The bright side is not going to interfere into the darker side. So there has to be some agreements at some level. These are still the lower agreements. The higher agreements would be that, yes, I have agreed to be Amandeep Singh in this body, and I will forget that who am I in reality.
Yeah.
So this game is a dangerous game.
Yeah. And so your book
is a dangerous game, isn't it?
Your book is called The Game of Life, right?
The Game of Primal Forces.
The Game of Primal Forces.
The Game of Primordial Forces.
Primordial Forces.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll
this idea, this name, this feeling, this name, I got from the feeling of the book that I have read. And I also like to see life as a game.
Yeah, sort of a capital G game.
Weapons,
Yeah.
As we say that humans have got all the powers, all the energies hidden inside them.
Right.
Now, you make them forget, delete all the data. Who is he in reality? Yeah. You give them all the weapons, and then you don't give them any knowledge how to fire their weapons, how to use them. So we are more like chimps. We are more like chimpanzees with AK-47 in our hands. So which is very dangerous.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, there's the versions of, I think, more of the Islamic interpretations of the story of Satan or Shaitan or Shaitan, that he was so loyal to God that he said, "What are you doing? Why would you give these people the ability to defy you like this?" And God said, "I'm doing what I'm doing. You know, don't question me." And he said, "But I can't. I just can't go along with this." And God said, "Well, then get out." I mean, that's sort of an interesting, different interpretation of how that went. Different from the Christian, anyway.
Exactly. But in the essence, you know, even that Samael and Lilith, those both currents, if we see them as a current, it's just the dark side of the God self itself, you know, because it has to create some sort of balance.
Yeah. One thing that I find interesting is finding alternate words to use to express ideas that have been expressed in words that now have been layered with so many connotations. Like, for example, covenant. You know, the covenant between God and mankind. Agreement, you know, it's an agreement. You know, and there's other kinds of agreements. And then, you know, sin versus, you know, mistake, error, or you know, that kind of, my dad would say error program, or maybe that's me, I don't know. But yeah, just things like that to kind of get through to what the wisdom is without evoking the imagery of someone at a pulpit shouting at the congregation and all of this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very interesting.
So I've been very much interested in Buddhism as well, but I don't have much knowledge about it because the terminology is completely different. You know, it is Tantra, it is hardcore Tantra, and it is Sattvic and Vedic stuff as well, but that lineage is different and Tantric ways are different. But how would you define? I can understand my Aghor stuff, but how would you define? It is a well-written system. Everything is well written there. So how do you define Vajrayana, and what is the essence of Vajrayana, and what are the steps?
Yeah, I feel I should say that I am not a master. I am a student. I'm currently going through, and as you've seen, I'd have that Buddhist book series. If anybody's interested, click there. Anyway, not right now. Click later. Watch this first. Yeah, so I went through a little bit of Theravada, basically the original monks with the Buddha, and they had a very direct, simple, clear path and message. And so then by the time a few hundred years go by and the beginning of Mahayana is coming around, and the message has kind of already, depending on your point of view, the message has almost been lost. Or it's been improved upon, depending on whether you like Mahayana or Theravada more. And of course, Theravada they call Hinayana, which is a rude thing to say. It's the Mahayana saying we're the big vehicle, they're the small vehicle. So, you know, sorry to do the mocking voice when referring to one of the great religions of the world. Anyway, so I guess between the 3rd and 5th centuries Common Era, when Tantra was becoming popular, and for those in the West, I know a lot of people think of, you know, their New Age friend sitting in Yab Yum with, posting on Facebook saying, you know, sex is sacred, come to my sex Tantra workshop. And that's the limits of their knowledge of Tantra. Or there was that one Indian guy saying, we do not ejaculate, we injaculate, you know. And so it's like, well, that's part of it, but a very actually small part of left hand Tantra, where, I mean, there's a way to do it with your wife and properly and all of this. But Tantra, from what I understand, was one of the takings back of power away from the Brahmin caste, basically, where they were saying, you know, rather than always relying on a priest, then you can take these lessons and do these rituals on your own in your home. So ringing a little bell and waving the incense is tantra, and that is the essence of tantra, is taking it into your own home. And so I encourage, like you see with my chalice, this is basically Catholic tantra. All my shrines and my personal practices, and encouraging people to be self-initiates, even in a Golden Dawn system. Self-initiation into the Golden Dawn is tantric Golden Dawn. That doesn't mean it's sex magic. You can add that if you'd like, but just to clarify, just because a lot of the Western audience, they think tantra, they think sex magic. Anyway, so tantra became a movement, and the Mahayana Buddhists, some of them were looking and noticing that, and the other ones were just like, okay, stay focused, Mahayana Buddhism. But the ones that were like, this is interesting over here, they evolved into the Vajrayana. And from what I understand, it was specifically one of the Madhyamaka Mahayana schools that incorporated the Tantra. And Madhyamaka was basically started by Nagarjuna. And when a lot of people in the West, again, or wherever, I don't know, I don't even like these terms East and West because they're just too broad. And, is China have anything in common with India? You know what I mean? Like, other than Buddhism, which came from India, but they're both Eastern, right? Whatever, anyway. And Celtic and Roman are both Western. Like, okay, it's time to have more categories than East and West. And where's Africa fit in? Is neither East nor West. Is it South? So it's an old way of talking, but still, for simplicity, we use these terms. Okay, sorry, I went far afield. Where? Let me come back.
Tantra.
The Buddhists that started in the beginning, they would say, if you want to avoid going to the hells, and then you might have some person, no, Buddhists don't believe in hell. Well, you're kind of thinking of Madhyamaka a little bit, No, the original Buddhists, they said if you mess up really big time, you go to the hell realm. And that might actually be one of the origins of the concept of going to hell in Christianity, because there was a lot of flow back and forth. There wasn't always these sort of aggressive barrier, countries in between India and the Greco-Roman world. That came later, after Muhammad, and then a few other things happened. So that was a different time. But before that, there was a lot of flow back and forth. There were Greeks learning from Buddhists, and Buddhists learning from the old Greek philosophers, and all of this. So, sorry, this isn't for you. This is for them. I know you know these things. So Vajrayana, basically, so Madhyamaka, what am I getting at? The ones that ask questions like, is existence really existence? Is existence eternal, or is it not eternal? Or should we even be asking the question, or does the question even make sense? That was like Madhyamaka. So they were practicing Mahayana Buddhists who aspired to be bodhisattvas, who would take the oath of the bodhisattva and say, I will not attain enlightenment and exit this world of samsara until every sentient being of every kind has been liberated before me, and only then will I go into the light. Which was a different thing than kind of what Buddha was teaching. He was saying, this is how to exit samsara and go to nirvana. Go, and so then they refer to the people who attain that kind of enlightenment as arhats, that they were just, in it for themselves, if you will, but they go around preaching to others how to do that. But then Madhyamaka starts to do this sort of, let's all become bodhisattvas if we can. And so people in the mentality of let's all become bodhisattvas, who think that part of that process is asking these sort of, existential questions and really getting down and analyzing it rationally and debating and all of this stuff. So then they brought in the practices of the bells and the whistles, the chanting at home, and so these lineages started to form where a person would teach one student, or they'd teach their disciples, uh, in this way, and say, go and practice these things. And some of these things were sort of sexual in nature. The idea of the Kundalini, as we understand it, wasn't always there. I know, people from Yogi Bhajan school, the Kundalini was taught in ancient India 5,000 years ago. But then when you ask, well, can you point to it? Then they have to say, well, right here where it talks about a lake, what they're talking about is the chakras. And it's like, really? So anyway, so yeah, bringing in the Kundalini, the chakras, using yab yum, sitting with a partner, and all of these things, and retaining the fluids, and not actually completing the sexual act, and all of these became among the practices. They weren't taught by everybody, but they were taught by Padmasambhava. So him, Vimalamitra, and a few others, they came from India. To cut short, there was a long, complicated story. But at the time, from what I understand, India didn't want their Buddhism, their scrolls, their sacred scrolls, to be brought out of India. And so these guys were secretly smuggling sacred scriptures out of India into Tibet. And so they were using magic to be invisible and to move quickly and to do all these things. And then going into Tibet, and Tibet already had its established religion at the time, which was the Bon. And they were what we would,
highly magical.
Yeah, very magical, what we would consider shamanic. And so there's these mythological stories of Padmasambhava, encountering a bone deity, and then throwing his dorja and blinding it in one eye, and changing. So at that moment, then he wakes it up and teaches it the Dharma, and then it transforms from a bone sort of demigod or demon, whatever, those aren't their terms, those are someone else's terms, English terms, but transforming them into a Dharma protector, so that they had a place in this developing Vajrayana mythology, which included a lot of Hindu gods. In the Mahayana, they made reference to the fact, probably to lend credibility to the early Buddhist schools. They were saying that this god and that god were present at the sermon that the Buddha gave, and that the gods were just amazed by the sermon that the Buddha gave. And so Vajrayana took that and kind of brought it more into focus, center stage. And so you'll see the two deers on either side of the Dharma wheel, representing, I think it's Vishnu and I've forgotten, two of the main gods. And that they were the first disciples before he started teaching humans. Two deers came, and that was the gods in disguise. And Buddha told them his philosophy, and they approved, and they liked it, and so things like that. So Vajrayana developed as a very complex, beautiful, ornate, colorful, layered form of Buddhism that is basically, Tantra mixed with Mahayana, Madhyamaka Mahayana, with the Theravada as the foundation. And that's one thing that Kes Fry, he's been on, I think, 6 times, and sometimes, especially in these westernized Tibetan schools, they lose sight of the Theravada. They lose sight of the point, that there is a point, that really the Eightfold Path and the Four Noble Truths are actually still important. There actually should be right at the center of it all. Like, what is the Dharma wheel? What is this teaching that the gods were so in love with? If not the teachings of the Buddha, not the teachings of Padmasambhava, not invoking Dharma protectors to slay the enemies of the particular lineage of Vajrayana Buddhism. People kind of go far afield. And it happens in Western schools too. I witnessed it in the Golden Dawn too, where people lose sight of the principles taught in the neophyte grade, or even in the 5-6 grade, or every grade in between, and kind of go off in these weird directions of, we need to own the copyright of this system, so therefore we need to send hackers to take down the websites of the competing orders and bloody our swords literally, and then send attack magic at the people who are talking bad about us on the internet. And that's all going to be in my book that I'm working on. But that's going to be part of it. It's not all going to be dark and stupid. Some of it'll be funny, and some of it'll actually be, interesting. These guys aren't just total idiots. Maybe they have a point about one or two things. But anyway, Vajrayana Buddhism. Okay, so that didn't even answer the question. Vajrayana, as you probably know, means lightning path, or thunder path, or diamond path. So the Vajra Sutra, the Diamond Sutra, also can mean the Lightning Sutra. And a lot of these sutras, the later sutras, go into a lot of the philosophy of Vajrayana. They also have a strong debate. They will debate reason and logic and all of these things. And especially nowadays, the Karmapa is trying to move away from the hocus pocus side of Vajrayana and emphasize the practices of logic and debate. I think that because, he must know that, God willing, His Holiness the Dalai Lama will live for another 100 years, but nature is what she is, and so it's probably going to be less than that. And the Karmapa is still young. I believe he's about 30, right? The present day Karmapa. Incidentally, in his previous incarnation, if you are into that sort of thing, the Karmapa put these strings on my dad's dorja when he visited the West. And so that's interesting. So I have an indirect connection. My dad knew the Karmapa's previous incarnation, so I feel like the Karmapa and I are related.
Hello.
Oh, there you are. Well, anyway, so what is Vajrayana? That's a good question, because there's many schools, and there's different emphasis depending on the school. I've recently been, not delving as much as I want to, because I want to lay the foundation of Theravada and Mahayana before I really dive in to Ian Baker's book, Tibetan Yoga, which he explores a lot of the other lineages, not the Kagyu and the Sakya and the Nyingma. This is a Nyingma robe, by the way, from Bhutan.
Okay.
That literally just
Even
means
the robes are different?
the robes are different.
Okay.
A little bit. And there's I believe Kagyu means yellow hat. So the ones that have the yellow pointy hat, that's the school that Dalai Lama comes from. There's sort of a common misnomer, even like in Nepal, people who know, the monks are educated in this sort of thing, but the lay people, if you ask them, they'll say, well, the Buddha is the king of Buddhism, and he's like a god, or he is a god. And it's like, okay, none of that is true. There's four main lineages. One of them has the leadership gets passed down within one family, so they're a little bit like how the British royal family, how they'll choose the next king or queen based on some formula. That's the Sakya, I believe, and then the Kagyu. Maybe I'm mixing things up a little bit. they pass it down
Yeah.
from one lifetime to the next. But it was actually Karmapa. I think I'm supposed to say His Holiness or something like that, but sorry. Karmapa was the first one to do that, and the name of his lineage is slipping my mind. But he was the one who, basically said, when I come back, you can find me in this village, or they had a vision or something like that, and they went and found him again. And so he's on his 17th incarnation, while the Dalai Lama is on his 14th incarnation. And then, of course, there's all kinds of complications with China occupying Tibet, and the Dalai Lama being in exile and everything. And so what is Vajrayana? That doesn't answer the question. There are Vajrayana sutras that I haven't read yet. So I think I'll be much more informed once I've read all the Mahayana sutras and all the Vajrayana sutras. But basically, Vajrayana includes all the Mahayana as well as the Theravada, in a similar way that Mormon, the Church of Latter-day Saints, includes the New Testament and the Old Testament, but then also the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's maybe an odd comparison. And then with that in mind, I tend to think of Zen as being a little bit like fundamentalist Christianity, where they say, okay, no Book of Mormon and none of this Paul crap, let's get to what Jesus said. What is the point? And everything else, we don't need that. We don't need Christmas. We don't need this. We don't need that. What is the point? So that was a little bit like Zen trying to get back to the essence of the Theravada after the Vajrayana and the Mahayana and every different version of those schools, which include, weird things, practices which in our modern day would be considered absolutely horrible, that weren't necessarily very widespread, but they did happen, they did exist, and there are instructions about how to sort of groom young women to take on certain roles in certain rituals, so that by the time one day when they turn 16, they'll be just right for this ritual. And so one thing I noticed in China, in Shanghai, in the propaganda museum, was they were showing depictions of Buddhist monks with like women with their breasts hanging out, like feeding them grapes and living, with big beautiful columns and stuff like that. And so that was kind of the emphasis, the Maoist communist emphasis was in looking at that and saying, these are the people that are ruling Tibet now. So obviously we're going to do a better job than they are. And so, from the perspective of a Westerner, or from an Indian perspective, that looks and sounds horrible, but it's sort of like, it didn't come from nowhere. Like there was a truth in it, similar to, I mean, not to say that, this is getting, I'm like pausing because I don't even want to like say, like when there's nasty monsters that do terrible things, it's based on lies, sure, but there's like a little kernel there has, not there has to be, but there usually you can find, okay, well, they were upset about that, but they blew it way out of proportion, for example. And then people, especially with a sort of anti-Freemasonic, sort of apocalyptic Christian, paranoid, schizophrenic, I apologize to schizophrenics, but maybe drug-induced, sort of hazy, conspiracy-minded thing. Then they get into this whole, this is the form that Satan takes. Satan uses these people to make this happen, and God is trying to do this, and so Satan's hitting him where it hurts. And it's just getting into a place of just nonsense, just total nonsense. And then it becomes it becomes sort of like useless or counterproductive.
This creates even more negative energy amongst humanity.
And then people react against that and say, no, these are all lies. And then those people can say, you say these are all lies, but what about this fact here, and then it's a mess. It's a mess. And so then at a certain point, one just gets on an airplane and leaves the US and lives in India instead. And then one is feeling much better now. So. It gets too crazy, especially in the occult circles, because that's where all the nutters go, So to be a prominent figure in the occult, in any kind of occult community, is to be, sort of surrounded on all sides by the nuttiest people.
Yeah, this is what I felt when I met you, because as I told you that I had some working relations with Luciferians, practicing Luciferians, and the Christian witches, the authentic witches, but the Christian witches,
right,
that circle. But these organizations, the Order of the Golden Dawn, big reputed organizations, and Freemasonry, and big organizations, I didn't have any. I used to read about them, but I didn't have much relationship with them as such. But when you came, we had a talk regarding this, and then I got to know that how serious things can be when it's into management. The big hierarchy is there. Big hierarchy is there who are running all those ancient organizations that not even new
Right. Yeah, the ancient and the modern organizations both.
Your viewpoints does not match even a little bit, even if you are being initiated by them and you agree to many points in those societies. But if you don't agree with the higher people, then what?
Right. Yeah. Or if you don't get along with them, or if you point out
that's a bit tricky
their
part.
abuses. Yeah. People don't like to be called out on their abuses. Even if you look at them and smile without any kind of resistance in your mind, then they feel vulnerable, like what they're up to, and then they get paranoid and start to push you away. And then, so yeah, these organizations people fantasize about the perfect church, the perfect temple, the perfect order, the Illuminati. Of course, on Instagram, everybody's getting these, join the Illuminati and make money. Apparently, I don't know. They seem to go there with it, but or the old days, and today, the Rosicrucian order, the one true and holy Rosicrucian order that goes all the way back to CRC, and everyone else is lying. This kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, I like the solo path or the free agent. Someone was asking, because I was expressing I have this Rose Cross tattoo, and I feel an affinity for the original Rosicrucians when I read the writings, and so someone invited me to a meeting of Society Rosicruciana in Anglia on Zoom, and I enjoyed it. I mean, it was just nice to be sitting sort of with a group of mostly older men, older British men. There was a French guy in Malaysia, though. That was interesting. Discussing these ideas. And so then my friend who invited me to that was saying, if you want, I can get you in to the Society Rosicruciana in Anglia. I said, no, thank you. I explained about the Tibetan yogis, the smaller lineages. I would prefer to be a smaller lineage, and whether I pass it on or not, I don't care, it's 2022, like, we're not in 1700s Germany anymore, so yeah, I mean, for my own practice, mostly to avoid charlatans and avoid all of these social hierarchy BS kind of things, that even people with the best of intentions, and that happens when people, I mean, not every time, but it tends to happen. I've noticed a lot of the times when people schism, and by that I mean, they reject the leadership of the, maybe the very corrupt leadership of the order of whatever kind that they're coming from, and then they say, well, you, me, and Fred, we could do much better, and so then they go off and start like a miniature version that talks a lot of crap about the one they came from, and then slowly they start to evolve maybe a similar kind of BS, or they invent a new kind of BS, or but God willing, I hope the best for my friends that have recently gone on that path. You know who you are.
Yeah.
I won't name names, but you can find them at Sal's shop. Anyway, but yeah, I like all of them, and I hope that they do something good. And I mean, I wish well my old alma mater too. But part of the reason why I can have such feelings of affection for them is because I'm about 13,000 kilometers away from them, and I don't directly talk to most of them. So, when I had to talk to them every day, when I had to answer the phone every time they called, it was too much. I burned out after 20 years. Here I've got my dad's old tarot deck.
Oh,
He was
great.
Such a good reader. He was a Pisces. He had all of his planets in Aries, except for his sun sign was Pisces. And so he kept these in his glove box. What do you call it? A glove box? The next to the driver, the passenger, in front of the passenger, there's a little compartment. Yeah. So he kept him there, and then occasionally when we were depending on where we were, people would ask him to bring them out, but he would do things like he would meet a total stranger and lay the cards out, and then he'd sit back and he'd say, "Well, you like to fuck married men," like they'd be like, and he would just say pregnant, and things like that, and it would turn out to be true. So I always aspired to be, at that level, but he was on another level with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Pope Runyon wrote a beautiful review of Transformations where he talked about how my dad was more sensitive to the portal that they opened out in Giant Rock, out in the desert.
It was a very deep insight. Transformations, that book, and very it's for occultists. It's not for normal people to read. They won't understand anything.
Right. Yeah.
It's for the occultists and the intellectual ones only. Those who have to read, first of all, they should be readers, and then the second level they should be occult readers.
Right. I tried reading it to my grandma once. my mom's mom, who was fundamentalist Christian, and she's like, "I just don't understand what he's trying to say." And I was like, "Well, it's pretty clear, isn't it?"
Yeah. But there, in the same way, as I asked you about Mahayana, Hinayana, and Vajrayana, because you asked the question, which lineage I'm initiated from.
Right.
So now I'm going to explain a little bit about.
Yes, please. I always feel bad when I just talk through other people's interviews.
Oh, that's great. I don't mind, because I also wanted to know about the Buddhist thing, because I am very much interested in that. I have no plans in getting initiated in that, because then the whole lineage changed, the whole terminology changed. I have to start from zero then. But I would love to meditate in Buddhist temples with all the lamas around.
Some believe that Buddha was an incarnation of Shiva, so that's an interesting perspective. So maybe you're already part of a Buddhist lineage.
And some say Vaishnavs, the Vaishnav people who believe in Lord Vishnu, they believe that he was the 10th or 11th incarnation of Vishnu.
Wow. After Krishna.
Yeah. After Kalki, Kalki is the last 10th of avatar. Before that, yeah. Kalki is about to come.
Yeah.
There are many lineages, as in Aghor. Aghor is more like a scientist, I told you, but he's a very simple man. He does not understand the difference between being in dirt or garbage, or he can sit in the garbage as well with swines. He can sit on a beautiful couch as well. He can be anywhere,
which is why he looks so funny with Parvati. She's got her jewelry and her nice ironed things, and he's like, who's this guy?
Yeah, exactly. And there are stories that when he was about to get married to Parvati, when he came in his original Shiva form, then his mother-in-law and father-in-law got terrified by seeing him, that is this the boy that you're going to marry? So Lord
This
Vishnu
ganja
came,
smoking.
so yeah, Lord Vishnu came. He became the makeup artist of Lord Shiva, and he groomed him. Yeah, and then he became a completely handsome guy and went in front of Parvati. Then they approved for the marriage, and then he again came back with the same clothes and bhasma, because Parvati wanted him in the same clothes. He wanted the same ganja taking guy.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, as an Aghor, there are many lineages. First of all, it's an umbrella term. Aghor is simple. He is a wizard, but a simple man. Wise person, but a simple man. He does not even understand that he is wise. He just understands that we are not here on this planet to become, a burden on this planet. We're not here to become fools. Obviously, we are here to support this planet. So he would be wise, but he won't consider this thing as some, a special thing to be learned, or it's just the just they are grust. Grust means they are married people, because the gods of Aghor, he himself is married to Parvati. He's not single. He's not a, he's not a jungly saint or something like that, that he's going to live a celibate life. He himself is married. So obviously his devotees will be married. Yeah. One lineage is for the married people, and we are from that lineage.
Okay.
Now I will explain later what are the further bifurcations. The other lineages, those are Shamshan Nivasi people. So Shamshan Nivasi people are those who have taken a vow to stay in cemeteries for the rest of their lives. They are
That's
wanderers.
the one people usually think of when they think of Aghori. I mean, people even think of that when they think of Tantra. Someone says Tantra, they think of that lineage of Aghori only. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, in India. In the West, they think of the New Ager in Yabyum and their ad.
Yeah, exactly. Even my masters who I got initiated from, they are also married with a lot of children, and two of my masters are married. Only one, he is in Delhi NCR. That master is living a lonely life. Otherwise, two masters are already married. There's no compulsion. But in initiation, it is said and it is recited that which path you're going to follow for the rest of your life. So we are in the grahast path. We can also go in cemeteries. We can also drink our urine and do the other rituals. We can also eat flesh or whatever. It's not a compulsion. It's not a compulsion.
Right.
But it's just a ritual. And we should understand what symbolic thing it represents before doing the ritual.
Right.
The other lineage is the jungly one, who are in cemeteries. These both lineages are the prime lineages. Now there are further bifurcations. One lineage comes from Lord Shiva, who are the devotees of Lord Shiva. Other lineage comes from Kali, from goddess Kali, who is Shakti Sampradaya, and Shiva is Shaiva Sampradaya. Now there are further bifurcations. There are many different forms of Shiva. Which Shiva do you worship? So there are many different forms of Shiva, and different forms were created for different purposes. Obviously, the angry form would be used for different baneful practices and many other stuff. Yeah.
In Maharashtra,
Obviously,
for
the
fighting off
benevolent.
Genghis Khan.
Yeah, exactly. And Bhairava is a different lineage. Yeah. Kali is a different lineage. There is a different lineage who worship Shamshan Kali. We are from that lineage. The goddess of cemeteries, Kali of cemeteries, that Kali is different. And there is a different story of that. The Kali which lives in cemeteries, that is our lineage. And there is a different, philosophy of that. Bhairav, Shamshan Bhairav, Bhairav of cemeteries, Bhairav of graveyards. That is our Bhairav. That's our lineage. Shamshan lineage. That's what we follow. Another is goddess Tara. That is not 100% angry goddess, not 100% benevolent. That's a middle path. Tara. She is the one who stopped the poison by keeping her hand here on Shiva's throat. She's Tara.
Wow.
That is goddess Tara.
Now there's Taras in Vajrayana. I would imagine they have their origin in the ancient, in the tantric Tara. But Tara.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Tara you're talking about is more related to Nut, I think. The goddess of the stars, the goddess who's
goddess of stars.
Yeah.
So these stories are kind of symbolic, but what they want to say is Tara is a middle path. She stops the poison to go here. You are reciting some very powerful and those kind of mantras which are going to create a lot of heat inside you. If you are reciting those kind of mantras, then Tara is going to stop it here so that this does not explode.
There's Om Tari Tutari Turi Soha, Om Tari Tutari Turi Soha 3. But that's different, right? That wouldn't be the same. Different Tara.
That wouldn't be the same, but the
Buddhist
current,
Tara.
If you're talking about the current is same. When we're talking about the Tara, Tara is a current. And do we really think that all these stories were complete true? But when they have written the books, those are the stories recited by the creator gods. Okay. And creator god means who helped in primordial times, which is said in the process of creation. So whatever they have created in terms of stories, that may or may not be true, but it is a tantra. It is a system. With the codes, with the stories, they have given a system hidden in it. We are accessing all the powers through those ancient stories and books.
Right.
That story might not be true.
Yeah.
Live it. Doesn't matter.
That's a way to approach Genesis too.
Yeah, exactly. So to read Bible or to read Islam, these are highly ancient books. Those are not new age books. So obviously the language and the symbolism would not be new. So if people are taking it literally, they are fools. The language is ancient. People were ancient, they were multi-dimensional beings. Jesus himself was a multi-dimensional being. He knew about the pyramids. He got initiated, he got initiated in the pyramids. He went to Buddhism as well. But do you think he was initiated only in pyramids? He was initiated by the eternal power. These were all the stories.
He grew up in Egypt. One of the books I want to write in the future is about his upbringing in Egypt. And my idea is that, or feeling is that he grew up in Alexandria when Alexandria was the hub of the world of international trade. So he was meeting Buddhists, he was meeting Hindus, he was meeting philosophers of all kinds, Africans, Arabian mystics pre-Muhammad obviously, and everyone else. And so of course when he was 12 years old, if he was a bright kid and absorbed all of this wisdom and information, he went to Jerusalem and he heard them reciting from the Torah and wondering what it meant. And Jesus, as a 12-year-old, was able to tell them, well, it means this. And they were shocked. It's so interesting.
Yeah. It is powerful. And whosoever has read Bible or Islam or these Abrahamic stories of prophets with full mode and feeling of devotion and prayer, they start crying. It's such an emotional and powerful story.
Yeah.
It is powerful. It is powerful. And that's where the power of that system comes, the Tantra. Obviously, if that story has got such power that if you're going to invoke that story and power and that current, it is going to be projected through your mind with the same intensity that you're reading that story with. So that is how Tantra is going to work. And, in the same way that you were telling about the Buddhist lineages, there is one lineage of Kamakya. They are seeing the cosmos in the form of a cosmic yoni, cosmic vagina. But there is no vagina up there. There's no yoni up there, but it's feelings, The person who want to see the Holy Ghost in terms of a woman,
right,
or in terms of a womb, sacred womb, those who have feelings for that, yeah, or those who are more sexual in nature, they can worship it in the form of yoni. And also you're worshipping the Mooladhara, the root chakra, and money, success, prestige, it all comes from the Mooladhara. If that is strong, only then you're going to get success in life. That is the science of chakras. And if you are the worshipping the whole cosmos as a Mooladhara, as the root chakra, as a sacred root chakra of goddess, then you have made a tiny Mooladhara into something heavenly. It is a system. Obviously, how much intention and how much power you are putting into that root chakra then.
Yeah. And
and
what was the
obviously,
name? Sorry.
Kamakya.
Yeah,
That yoni goddess is Kamakya.
It was reminding me of the man who started the Jainist movement, and how, if I recall correctly, maybe I'm mixing things up, but he was focused on Mother Goddess, or I believe Kali specifically, and his exactly. love and devotion to Kali was driving him and motivating him until one day she vanished and he didn't need her anymore. And it was the formless. Suddenly he was in contact with the formless deity. And so I mean, so a system, some people say, oh, well, you got to stick to one system, don't mix, don't jump from this to this to this. But those people are gatekeeping, or they're stuck, and they want everybody else to be stuck too. It's like the people who say don't appropriate cultures. You have to be a Viking if you look like you, Edward. But yeah, so a person can be in oriented that way for a period until one day they find that something else actually works much better for them at that stage in their life, and it's like they've attained another level, which doesn't mean this is better than this, or this always is going to come after this, but on that one person's path, that's the shape of their path.
Yeah, exactly. So very deep philosophies.
Yeah.
In the same way, there are, a goddess you must have seen, a community of Chinnamastaks. So Chinnamastaka is the goddess with head in her hand and two goddesses drinking her blood.
Right.
Yeah, that is Chinnamastaka. And in her feet, you would see a man and a woman making love. She's standing on them, and she's got blood out of her body, and two goddesses, Jaya and Vijaya, drinking her blood, and she has got her hands. So, if that man and woman making love is manifestation, creation, feelings,
circular manifestation,
desires, circular manifestations. If you are going to get out of this loop, if now goddess is standing on both while they're making love, she is standing on both. So if you are going to get out of this loop of continuous manifestation or creation or desires, then you have to be like a goddess who has got her head cut, ego cut. Yeah.
Yeah.
And two goddesses means one is your white pillar and one is your black pillar. Both of them drinking your blood and all your desires and all your whatever you got to offer her.
Yeah. It sounds like a
So these are
Buddhist
symbolic.
image. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So beautiful essence. And tantrics are, there are baneful practices as well. When they have to manifest something dark, the lower magic or whatever we can call it, then they offer blood and different stuff as well. But there's nowhere written that an animal is required.
Right.
God has created us, God has created animals as well. The blood which is already inside me, is it mine? It already belongs to the goddess. So why do we have to cut the blood and offer it to her? So symbolically, anyways, we prick and only one drop is required. Otherwise, killing the whole animal, that is nowhere required.
Not necessary.
But that is also there. That is also there, but that is highly dark magic where there are no gods. Those are your, some kind of gangster kind of energies, the lower energies, the jungly energies, energies of the woods, which are nowhere under control of anyone. So those energies might take those kind of offerings, but goddess and gods, these are higher philosophies.
Yeah.
It's same as Buddhism,
Yeah.
Even I would like to ask, there would be many practices of demonic practices and painful practices in Buddhism as well. It's a very powerful and potent system. There would be, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, I know of one that what the story you were just telling me reminded me of Vajrayogini. The way that I heard it described, it's a path working, it's a mental thing, it's a process you go through. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if at certain points in history people enacted it literally in one way or another. But it has to do with Vajrayogini, and she was in a kind of ecstasy, a sort of sexual ecstasy, sort of passionate, spiritual, like Saint Teresa of Avila had a very similar sort of passionate ecstasy. And she's dancing and dancing, and then she starts to eat herself and hack pieces of herself away until she has finished, and somehow she drinks her own blood out of her own skull. I don't know how to visualize that, but then the whole thing is wrapped up. So I think that is like a kind of metaphor. I mean, it's a problematic metaphor, but it's a metaphor for similar to the those little glass bead mandalas they make, where they make these beautiful, elaborate mandalas, and then at the end they take the dorja and someone's blowing the horn through a human bone, a horn made out of a human bone. Someone drags the dorja across the sand into the center, and then they, this beautiful, elaborate tapestry that they were all just gazing at, that was kind of becoming seared in the memory. Then they get to watch it become destroyed, and then they just gather the sand away, and then they put it in a river. So that to me, that's the essence of what I think Vajrayana Buddhism is intended to be, which is the lightning path, that rather than the slow path of renounce all things and resist the temptations and sit under the tree until you have let go of everything and attained nirvana. They say, burn through it all. Instead of resist it, eat it and then vomit it up. I mean, figuratively speaking, just like just burn through it all, like the passions, yeah, sexual passion, is that what's keeping you in the world? Okay, have all the sexual passion, here it all is at once, and then what? Okay, we'll light it on fire and then go up. And so it's a similar thing happening with the dance of Vajrayogini as with that mandala. We're putting so much effort into this beautiful artistic thing only to destroy it. And I mean, that's something that it can be a very, how to say, like when something beautiful breaks, when you put a lot of work into something, whether it be a relationship or something in the abstract, or a literal thing that then shatters, or your home that was your ancestral home and it burns down. These are opportunities. These are sort of Vajrayana Buddhist opportunities to to transcend, to ride the wave of that destruction. Doesn't mean go around destroying things, but in this symbolic way. I'd say that's one way that Vajrayana can be expressed. And it's very similar. And obviously, I tend to think of, and I don't know if I'm the only person who thinks this. I don't think I am. I tend to think of Buddha as a sage. Hinduism is a word invented by foreigners recently. So if Hinduism is defined, if Hinduism is defined as the religious and philosophical and cultural practices of India, then Buddhism is a kind of Hinduism. Buddhism is a sect of Hinduism, you could say, though its teachings are within themselves, they're all encompassing, and they don't necessarily include any other aspects of Hinduism. But the debates between Buddha and the early Buddhists and the Brahmins, I mean, that kind of proves the point, I think. He was an early caste system opposer, and he as was Tantra. Tantra within Hinduism was breaking down the caste system a little bit, saying untouchables can perform these same rituals that you Brahmins had said you were the only ones who could perform. That was a big breaking down of that structure. And so to combine Buddhism and Tantra is, I mean, that's like a revolutionary sort of a new form of so-called Hinduism, but it was new 1400 years ago, and then it became old in its own way, and now there's old encrusted schools of it that are just as encrusted as the Catholic Church or something. But I like the chanting, I like the incense, and I like the all the colors and everything, and I don't know, there's a lot there, and the in Bhutan,
an
Bhutan.
ocean.
Have you been to Bhutan?
I've never been to Bhutan.
Oh, I recommend it. It's just beautiful. It's like how Ghibli, Studio Ghibli, Hayao Miyazaki. He makes those beautiful Japanese cartoon movies. It's like if he imagined, in a dream, what Tibet is like, that imagining is Bhutan. And there are places where it's just unbelievable, between the weather and the smell and the sounds, and you're alone, and there's this perfect representation of Padmasambhava's description of the Pure Land expressed as architecture in front of you. And you walk in, and then there's this terrifying tantric being that represents what you see when you die, and if
that is Bhairav.
Wow. Oh, good.
Form of Bhairav.
Yeah. So I mean, there's
that
just
you would
such
see
an
in
overlap.
Kathmandu as well, and Nepal as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there are courts. There is an ancient system where Bhairav idol is there, and all the disputes inside the villages and those areas are settled in front of. There is a court, there is a government settled there, and all the disputes are settled, and punishments are they are given in front of the idol, and which is said there, it is done.
How interesting. But on a more transcendental level, when someone comes in and sees people worshiping statues, there's a certain kind of guru, a certain kind of enlightened person that will want to destroy that statue to get you to wake up and connect with the formless that's within you and all around you, and to stop giving it names, stop giving it forms. And therein is Moses, therein is Muhammad. They both did that at one point in their lives. And so, I mean, the divisions, the modern day divisions, which religion are you? Are you this or this or this? And it's kind of like, I mean, people look at me and say, oh, he's just a jumble of all of them. And I say, no, not really. I mean, I consider myself Hindu. On paper, I'm Hindu. Yeah. I had to become Hindu to, do the marriage ceremony we did. And but my Hinduism includes the teachings of the Buddha and Muhammad, and all within their context. And I mean, I absolutely love the Sufi poetry, and I think it's divinely inspired, and it fits right in with Christianity. Or Alan Watts' description before he gave up on trying to wake up the Christians around him, and he just sort of left and went on a more Eastern Buddhist and Hindu philosophical path. He was writing books about how to activate the machinery that's already in place, that the church is supposed to be the chalice, this chalice I have here, that receives the Holy Spirit from God, and that God is the husband and the church is the wife, and all the people in the church are part of it, and we're all brides of God. And yet, what are they doing? They're just sitting there, hallelujah, and then having their silly little bickering, and then arguing about this and that, and then getting into politics or something. And he was he was saying there's such a beautiful ecstatic thing here that's just laying dormant. It's and so in that sense, the Sufi poetry just fits right within that, because he's speaking. They Rumi, Hafiz, they're speaking as the bride to their husband. Even the Songs of Solomon are dry compared to Sufi poetry. It's like Sufi poetry are everything Songs of Solomon should be, and Songs of Solomon, should be more represented and more talked about than it is within Abrahamic
romanticism circle. And love with the Eternal One.
Yeah, that
and
relationship.
He had multiple wives as in harem. And this world is the harem.
It's us.
Of
We're the harem.
It's us. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can stop having harems on on this level, and recognize the symbolism that we are the harem.
Exactly.
Of the formless, shapeless, omniscient, eternal. You can't even say entity. You can't say being. Even saying I doesn't get it. The I am. Yeah. Okay, it's closer than maybe some other name, but even that is a form, and it's a kind of for lack of a better word, it's a kind of blasphemy to give a form or a name to God. And I understand why Muhammad said that, but of course, when you have people believing in Muhammad and then you have people over here believing in Shiva, then there's going to be conflict. But in essence, it's all the same, especially looking at the Aghori. What would the Aghori think of someone smashing idols? They'd say, good job smashing that idol. Here, let me help you. Like in the name of Shiva, I smashed this idol. It's interesting.
Exactly. The altar is this whole world,
Yeah.
Altar is this whole world. And at the end, why cemetery? Why graveyards? Because in the Christian ways, people are buried, so it's called graveyard. In our ways, it's more like Greeks also used to burn, and Hindus also used to burn. Yeah. So what is the residue left? Ashes. So we are the ashes. We are the sacred ashes of the cosmos, and that's what some people said. We are the stardust.
Yeah.
Ashes of the cosmos. That's what we are made of. So that's what Aghor is saying. Be like ashes.
Neil deGrasse
That's
Tyson is an Aghori.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah. When he
exactly.
starts talking about stardust, wow, it's like a religious inspiration. You know, he says, "Oh, religion is BS. You know, science is where it's at." But then when he starts saying, when I look out at the universe and see the stars, it doesn't make me feel small. It makes me feel huge because this is my
Yeah.
body out here. I'm like, whoa, man, you're having a religious experience right now. You're making me have
Yeah.
one too. At times,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly,
Sometimes he's
exactly.
full of crap, but you know, at times I really like what he has to say.
I was watching a video. Maybe I don't know who recommended me. Maybe some Christian guy, uh, and his name is he's some kind of pastor, maybe, and he's explaining Bible with references to the movies from NASA. Yeah, and
Oh,
he
okay.
might be he tells that he has got a friend in NASA, and you know that they work together.
Yeah.
He gives him a lot of knowledge, and then he tells him the spiritual aspect of what he's seeing actually. So the video's name is God is Indescribable. I
Wow.
love
Yeah.
that. I would send you on your
Yeah.
WhatsApp.
Sure.
That is watchable. That is beautiful. That's
It's on YouTube?
it is on YouTube.
Okay,
God is
everybody, check
Indescribable.
it out later, not right now. Okay.
But it tells, we think that there are a lot of as told by some other religious organizations or the past religions, you have committed a sin or that's well this and that. Now he's talking about transformation. He is talking about forgivance. He said that you know something like in his some of his other videos, that do you think you see the earth, this blue globe, just by seeing this blue globe you can feel its energy, its essence, but you won't know how many people are living there and how
Right.
many feelings are dwelling on this small planet, and how many happiness and how many broken hearts are there. That doesn't hold any value when you go up there in
Right.
pitch darkness and you see it from there, because you are seeing the whole scenario, the bigger scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens when you pray, and then you see the bigger picture. Then small puny things doesn't make any sense to you, that you
Yeah.
have committed the sin. This is a smaller level, yeah, that
Right,
you have
right.
committed the sin, but then this is a bigger level. That's, do you think this blue globe, this earth, this sun, that who are performing their duties since millions of years, who is making them perform their duty since millions of years? Why are they obeying it? And with whose orders they're obeying it? Why don't they just scatter here and there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
such powerful words. And
Yeah.
do you think that they need any forgiveness? They are already forgiven.
Yeah.
They are performing the duties. They are already performing the duties given by the Lord. So that's what we have to do. Just
Wow.
keep in our work,
Yeah.
with full dedication, and you offer the results and desires to the Lord. And
Wow.
that's what Aghor is.
Yeah, I was just thinking if maybe some famous cricket player or some famous baseball player, Babe Ruth or whatever, some famous cricket player from history threw a ball and we could still see that ball flying through the air. People could see
Yeah,
it and think of that famous cricket player and feel like they partook in them somehow. And yet the Big
yeah,
Bang drove forth all of this stuff that eventually started swirling and eventually started lighting up and started
yeah,
orbiting, and atoms and planets and moons and all of it. And where is the Big Bang now? It's right here. It's you and I having this conversation. It's the stuff of me, the stuff of you, the moon and the sun rising in the sky and the earth turning round and round.
Exactly. Tiny particles of the Lord itself talking about itself.
Yeah. And meanwhile, inside, all these little DNAs are being unzipped, and little photocopies are being made and sent in order to construct brand new little creatures, enzymes that go around and cause these events to happen in order to create, tryptamines in order for us to have religious experiences at the point of our death. And it's just. Some people get into a sort of an atheistic thing with the dimethyltryptamine and say, oh, well, that just proves that even the fantastic visions that people have at death are just chemicals in the brain, and they want to take it to that level. That's sort of like the Muladhara, the one who limits their world to the lowest chakra and says, everything is just physical, and anybody talking about anything else is deluded and wrong. But I look at it. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as above, so below. That, but not only as above, so below, but there's a whole lot more going on than as Shakespeare put it. Than are dreamt of in our philosophy, and so it's just such a symphony, such an orchestra. I mean, the orchestra is a good metaphor, I think, for what it is, which is everything working together in the present moment, to the same beat in the same song, and the violin and the beating drum both are different, but they're both essential for the song, and you can experience the song in different ways, and you can. It's just so beautiful. Even St. Paul has some wisdom, I think, talking about we're all different parts of the body of Christ, and a nose doesn't have the same function as an eye. And so, if you're an eye, don't beat yourself up for not being a nose, and if you're a person who gives generously, then do so. If you're a teacher, then do so. If you're someone who fasts and prays, then do that. And that it's all working together in harmony. And he was talking about the organization of the church, but I think at the same time he was looking at the big picture and describing what the body of God really is and what it looks like, and how we should just do that. But by imitating it, it becomes removed from it in a weird way. When everybody says, okay, let's all get together in a group and take a vow of secrecy and then pretend to be the body of God, then you've somehow managed to remove yourself from the body of God on a certain level. You could have just sat in the park and looked at the sky. You already were there,
Exactly. So this is why there's a character, Osho, Master Osho used to snub a lot of religions, a lot of even.
I have so many of his books. Yeah. I haven't read them yet, but
many of you see the pattern of these old, Sufi people. They were doing the same. Muhammad did the same. He broken all the statues. That they snub something, but people take it literally. Even Guru Nanak, the statue that you have, Guru Nanak of our Sikh religion, he shunned idol worship. He shunned altars. He shunned everything. But now people are taking it literally. When these people say, delete this thing, all these people like Osho, like Guru Nanak, like Jesus, he also was beyond his times. Not like old rabbis that were present at those times.
Right.
Yeshua was beyond. Yeshua was beyond already. And Osho was also beyond. Guru Nanak was also beyond. Whenever these people shun or snub something in somebody's religion, that is not to be taken literally. He is not, banishing or snubbing idol worship. He understands it, but he's saying that you
It's
people don't
limited.
understand this. Limited. It is
Yeah.
limited, and you people just don't understand the purpose of it. You have
Yeah.
lost the purpose. If it has to be done, then even if a person keeps an apple in front of him and start worshiping the apple, if his intention is powerful, he is going to, evoke the apple as well. There's going to be cosmos inside the apple,
Yeah. There is.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So in the same way, there was a Sufi saint. His name was Mullah Nasruddin, and he was a comic character. And he was like, he's all monkey business. This guy was all monkey business, and he used to snub and make fun of everyone. But in making fun, there are a lot of stories of this Mullah Nasruddin, and Osho used to recite those stories. And I think Osho is best suited with this name. He himself is a comic character, and he's making fun of everyone. He doesn't know this religion. You people don't know your own religion. He's talking about Shiva. He's talking about many things. He's talking about Brahma Kumaris, and then he's talking about the good points as well. People have not heard it. He's talk. Read between the lines.
Yeah.
I'm asking, whenever you listen, whenever you read between the lines. That's a difficult part. But whenever you're listening, you're not even listening.
Right.
So there are gaps between the words.
Yeah.
Where thoughts follows. Yeah, and words have got a, people are it. So you would see worshippers of Osho snubbing everything.
Missing the
Hindus
point.
snubbing their own religion. I would recommend those people, and I generally say to those people, you have to listen to Osho once again. Once again. Yeah. Even my guru snubbed all idol worship, but I am doing idol worship. But I am not completely bound by that thing,
Right.
I just understand the science of it. Why is it required? And it's for the manifestation purpose only, to bring the outer energies into one place.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. To channelize the energy. If you're scattered, if you don't have any discipline, if you are going to drink for 3 days and going to sleep, and fourth day you're going to meditate, you're not going to be enlightened ever. Yeah, there has to be some kind of discipline. Some kind of discipline has to be there. So that is why these teachings were there, and altar was there to make you into a discipline, that this is the place where you have to sit. You cannot sit on a toilet commode and light a candle and meditate there on toilet when you're smelling different smells. That's what you cannot do. Obviously. So you cannot go into any jungle and you will be eaten by the animals. You have to set up an altar, one place, one place where your heart feels good, one place, one altar, one ambience, abundance that you have created, your candle, your chalice, your cauldron, where you burn things. And it is the powerful place. It holds some power. So when old gurus are banishing and shunning these things, that this is all bullshit, you, if leave that thing just by listening to his words, then you are again going out of your path. You have to understand what he's saying.
That reminds me, let me see if I can find it quickly. Oh boy, it's from my dad's book. You and I, we have not given ourselves or the others much to believe in, have we? No, we've given them a great deal at which to yell bullshit. Hey, you others, what is it what is all that at which you believe you're yelling bullshit? Have a look at that,
Yeah.
even while it's going on and you're yelling. So good.
Yeah. That's a deep insight, and a
Believing in
satire as
something,
well.
believing in something one can easily miss experiencing it. It's good.
Exactly. That's a deep insight. Beautiful. And that's what people are doing. And if you many people, and many of the followers I've seen, especially in those religions which have got whose prophets spoke up.
Right.
Either whenever you become a prophet, whenever a person becomes whatever, whenever a person becomes enlightened or whatever, the basic human body and desires and feelings, a person goes above than this level, but body is going to continue doing what it was doing.
Right.
No entity, neither earth, nor sun, nor your body, nor your eyes, nor your smelling senses, they are going to stop their work.
Right.
They are faithful enough to keep doing their work. Yeah, because eternal force gave the order to do so. So everything is going to remain the same. If you are introvert, obviously you will be introvert. You will be like a Buddha. You will not blabber. You will sit in meditation. This is your nature. It is going to come out. If you are more glamorous and flamboyant, you will be like Krishna. That nature is not going to change. It's just that you are a watcher now. You're enlightened. And if you are outspoken and you are outrageous, you will be more like Muhammad. You will break the statues. Obviously these people are going to shun something to give them the straight point, but the followers then make a sect and start shunning the whole community because of their rituals. They have not understood the point.
And then divide amongst themselves and fight about it. Like that movie, The Life of Brian. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen
I recommend the Monty Python's Life of Brian. It's really good, but at one point I won't spoil it. Those who've seen it know what I'm talking about. There's the shoe people and the gourd people. I'll just let you watch and enjoy that movie. It's so good.
Okay, that's great. You've given me a task. That's beautiful. I'm a great fan of cinema. Fan of cinema. Songs, music, cinema. I have seen a lot of movies in this lockdown. More than 100 movies. And amongst this was one of the movie which I admire a lot. Johnny Depp was there in that movie, The Ninth Gate.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one yet.
But you must see. That is highly occult movie and highly symbolic movie. Beautiful, The Ninth Gate.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one out.
I found that in the Fire Stick that we are using, all the internet channels come there. So we're watching Max Player and Prime Video. So we don't have subscription for the Lionsgate and Netflix yet, but you will find that in Lionsgate, or at some point this movie was available on YouTube in Hindi dubbed version. So I watched this movie in YouTube, but now that movie was removed, and all those movies YouTube transferred to all these paid channels.
Right.
So a lot of change was happening. A lot of Alfred Hitchcock movies were removed into paid channels.
That's a shame.
I was very fond of Alfred Hitchcock movies as well.
Yeah, those are good too. He started a lot of things that have become tropes now. He originated.
Now, what do you think about that guy? His theories and his words.
Who?
The guy who wrote the Necronomicon.
Actually, I'm not that familiar with the Necronomicon. Was it? I think I know who you mean though. Starts with an L.
H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, Lovecraft. I mean, indirectly, I know he's had quite an impact on both horror and sci-fi genres.
Yeah.
So during his time, he was able to. Apparently, he was a horrible racist, but aside from that, like a person.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect, right? But
Yeah.
he was conceiving of and envisioning things that were just beyond, and that's as a
Just
writer.
beyond.
As a writer and as an artist, not always, sometimes at a certain point in my life, I had to say, I'm going to go ahead and write this story, even though there's nothing original in it. It's a new combination of unoriginal things. I'm going to go ahead and write it. But when I was younger, I used to reach always for the thing that had never been said or never been grasped before. And he did that, and he succeeded, apparently. And I know enough. I haven't read any
in
of
the
his
same
work.
way, I loved your concept. It
thank
is a very beautiful and powerful concept, even more than your Tron concept, the Tron sonnet concept.
Yeah.
Even more than that, I like that concept, the concept of intergalactic coffee house that you started.
Yeah.
It's
Hey, everybody,
beautiful,
check it out.
awesome.
Yeah.
That
you.
I love.
Hey,
a lot.
by the way, I'm going to send you all my books. But this one, just real quick, while I am on the subject. So here you can see my dad and I here. This first edition publication of Transformations is very, I'm just like gushing about how much I love my dad. But see, here's the title page. So
Yeah.
Maybe I'll edit this down. All right, so this will be waiting for you when you come to Delhi.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah, this is your copy now.
Thank you.
Absolutely. But do you know when that'll be? Sometime in the next few months, or because I can just hang on to the books. I don't need to send them to you in the mail or anything.
Might be. I have recently came to Delhi for my stuff, which is going on, which I told you, for at least 10 times.
Oh wow!
Because of police and court and everything.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna come once again.
Okay.
So
cool.
I'll keep coming now.
I'll give you one copy of each of the books that I've published so far, and the one that I'm thinking of in particular is called "The Small Gray Mouse and Other Short Stories." That's the one. Some people really like it, and some people are like, "What is this crap?" If you look at the Amazon ratings, there's one rating that says this is pure genius, and I think that the author is enlightened, and then the other one, that says this is a waste of ink and this person needs psychological help. So that's the book it's one of my favorites, but it's obviously not going to be for everyone. But it has a lot of elements of the interdimensional coffeehouse. Woven into the stories, and it's sort of subtle, so that at first you don't realize that you're already kind of following that thread, and then toward the end it starts to become more clear that the interdimensional coffeehouse has a prominent role to play in
I love this concept. Similar concept. Why I like this concept? Because similar kind of concept, there are few stories which are more earthly, based on issues of earth, like story of Superman, Batman, or whatever, different comic characters, DC and Marvel. But some stories are beyond this earth, like the Silver Surfer. He's serving something beyond, he's serving something, and that thing comes into picture after a long time. Who is he? The Galactus. And how was he made? Then the stories of his origins. In that story, there is a story of universal library, like Akashic records, that higher gods and higher beings take care of that library. That's a special library in which all the data of many universes, many cosmoses is contained there. And whosoever has got the access to that library would have all the knowledge of taking control over the powers of universe. In the same way, I like this concept of intergalactic coffee house where all the civilizations can come to one point and interact over a coffee.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
a good feeling is also there that we don't have to invade any civilization when we can talk over a coffee. If we
Exactly.
can do the
Yeah.
same in human form in our coffee house, then why can't an intergalactic interaction can happen in any such way?
Yeah, I think some people are hoping for some form of. Well, when the internet was relatively young, I thought that that was what the internet was going to be, and maybe on some level it is. But it's also it's a lot of things. A lot of things that weren't predictable have come as a result of the internet. And one thing that was predictable is the curating of the internet by the powerful, things like Facebook, Meta, Instagram, and then on the other hand, YouTube and Google, like making sure that, there's somebody that's watching, making sure, China's doing it in a very obvious way where they say, okay, nothing we approve of is allowed on the Chinese internet, but the outside China internet is also kind of the same, unless you get into the dark web and the deep web and that sort of thing. But you can still use it. You can still use it in I mean, as long as you're not doing something illegal on certain levels, hiring people to kill people or child slavery. I mean, those things should be eliminated as best as possible. But yeah, when they get into weird things, one thing I notice is that when occult things get censored, that's when it's like, okay, you're overstepping your bounds, YouTube, Facebook. What makes you think that people ought not to be able to discuss openly about occult things? I mean, because they think they associate, oh well, that must mean child sacrifice, or that must mean weird things, or that must mean conspiracy theory. They find some correlation between conspiracy theorists and occultists or something like that. But hopefully that's being clarified and weeded out. I've kind of written directly to Facebook and explained when
Exactly.
like there was that guy Brian Dahl's album Golden Dawn, and so there's this picture, and he looks like very tough and very like this bald and muscular man, and it says Golden Dawn. And so I submitted it to Facebook. I submitted an ad, saying boost this post, and Facebook said, they rejected it, like on the grounds of it being like extremely problematic, political stuff or something like that. And so I wrote a very nice letter, and I explained, you've mistaken this for the Hellenic nationalists. This has nothing to do with Hellenic nationalists. What this is it's music based on the ritual practices of a Masonic style order from Victorian England, and it's called the Golden Dawn. And and then they approved it. And so sometimes it just takes direct communication. One time I went, and speaking of China, one time I boosted a post about Dharamshala, showing the Tibetan refugee camps in Delhi, and then where the Tibetan government in exile lives in Dharamshala, and then I promoted it to everyone in the world who likes the Dalai Lama, and it was rejected, and it was fully rejected. And so I wrote and I said, hey, revise this, and then I got this rude message saying, you have repeatedly abused your privilege to whatever, you've abused Facebook's policies and this and that, and we're going to not only reject this, but we're shutting you down and all of this other stuff. And so I wrote back and I said, okay, I asked you a question, why are you rejecting this? And you did not answer the question. So what is it about the Dalai Lama that rubs you the wrong, that raises such a red flag for you? That because the Chinese flag is red, the Chinese Communist Party's flag is red. So I said, what is it about the Dalai Lama and Dharamshala that raises such a red flag for you? And then so someone else wrote back and said, we're very sorry, we've approved your post, we've reactivated your account, and we've boosted you up to like premium, like, so like they were like apologetic. So some CCP plant was working at Facebook, in other words, and doing their best to like stomp out anything that the Chinese Communist Party didn't want in going into the eyes and ears of the human species. Like they're kind of overstepping their bounds a little bit. But anyway, so yeah, that was interesting. Little fun experiments that I do. Like I'll boost a post on the same post in Hong Kong and Taiwan, and then just sit back and see what the ages and genders and what cities are, where are the people that like the Dalai Lama, the most, and just for my own research. And then I take note of that. And I don't know what to do with that information, but it's interesting for me to find out who likes what in what areas. So I find that people who do tarot readings in Japan will instantly become fans of the Esoterinerd. And so I've started, without even needing to pay at all. I just go on Instagram and search for tarot in Japanese, and then just kind of click like once on each post, and then they're following and they're engaged, and then I notice that they're watching. I can see on YouTube that they're watching the videos and stuff like that. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of interest in Western occultism.
I've seen they have been limiting and censoring a hell lot of things, and many things us not knowing. Many things are done in a hidden way, and that's why we have to boost our post even more. But then again, there is limits in the way the administrators scan our stuff. A lot of other witches I have seen that their pages were suddenly closed, even because I'm a computer professional, so I know that how to keep my mails clean. So it's my habit that I don't keep millions or thousands of emails in my inbox. I keep 10 to 15, only limited. So there are categories that I have made. In the same way, I have arranged Facebook and other accounts in very easily manageable way. But I didn't know how did that happen, because there was no warning. No warning. Otherwise the pattern of Facebook or other accounts is that they do give a warning. So this thing is happening, which is not nice, so you need to correct it or delete this post or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't know how did this happen, but my 13 years old ID was completely deleted without any reason, without telling me, and without any warning. It was completely, I tried retrieving it, but I tried the old methods in previous times. I had retrieved my ID in those ways, but everything was a failure and all my data was lost suddenly.
How interesting.
So
I think some of that might be, sort of evangelical types and others, like in the case of where my Dalai Lama and Tibet related posts were being sort of persecuted by someone that I'm guessing was someone who's loyal to the CCP. If it wasn't ordered by the CCP, people being paid directly to go do these things. More likely it's that, or it was some loyal person. So there might similarly be Christians out there on working in YouTube and Facebook and all of this, who are trying to save the souls of people from Satan. So it might be that. It could be that. Just people wielding those powers for their own, what they think is a good end, but it's not. It's just
might be.
Yeah. That's interesting. Huh.
That's interesting. But
I mean, I find people get paranoid and start to think in terms of, old, sort of arcane models of thinking, like old sci-fi, like 1984, that it's some big cabal or some big hyper organized government overseeing eye that is using, by means of Facebook and all of these other things, are persecuting it's not that. It's never really was that. I mean, there's one or two times in history where that sort of thing happens, but I don't know if it's even that organized or clever. I think it's just, I don't know. I guess there's no way to know, because who watches the watcher, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I would also like to ask a little summary, because when you were writing that book, you gave me, not the final copy, but you gave me when it was
a
in
PDF.
making.
Yeah.
In making. So I read it in bits and pieces, but it was good. But I would like to know the crux of your Thomas and the Wolf.
Yeah.
What is the message?
What is the message? There's a couple. It's layered, and I did my best not to overcrowd it with things. For one thing, the meta thing, and this is spoilers for people who haven't read Thomas and the Wolf. If you are planning to read Thomas and the Wolf, you skip a bit and just skip past this part. I would like for my young 20-something-year-old dad to read this book, because I think that is a nice thing that I can do for him, is to find him and say, hey, you wrote this. I think that you might want to read it, because you might want to pick up, where you left off a little bit, maybe just sort of at least give yourself a little bit of a head start, in a lot of these things. And so that's one level. And so the way that I did that was by making my dad into this character called Samuel, who is now reincarnated as a young man named Thomas. And just because I think that whoever he is, if he's anything like this Thomas character, or who I imagine my dad might be in his new incarnation, if he saw me, and he's a young man who went to college in US and in one of these more liberal oriented colleges, then he might see, a white, oppressor who is culturally appropriating other cultures and wearing a symbol, on over his heart, which not only is a symbol of oppression in that it's Christianity, but specifically it's, maybe he's read the Trinity Blood anime series and has this twisted idea that it's some kind of like proto-Nazi German thing, because it was a group of German Christians that were even creepier than regular Christians. And so what would this child think of me, and why would he listen to me? What would this young 20-year-old version, this new version of my dad, think of me? And so what I did was I created the wolf character, which is basically the famous QAnon shaman, the guy that had the red, white, and blue paint on his face with the buffalo horns, and went and stormed into the Capitol with all the militiamen with their Confederate flags and guns. And so the story is that there's a young man named Thomas who is mocking this wolf character. And but then he starts having a recurring dream, and then he feels compelled to go seek out the wolf, and he doesn't know why exactly. And so then they meet, and it turns out that the wolf, not to say that I don't know enough about the QAnon shaman, whose name happens to be Jacob. The wolf's name is Jacob in my story, and I didn't know that was his name. Anyway, I had my other sort of biblical reference reasons for choosing the names that I chose for the characters. Thomas being the doubting Thomas, he's commonly known as the skeptic among the disciples, but he also was the disciple that came to India and established a church here. But in his role as the skeptic disciple, he's like the newest of these biblical characters, where where the wolf, his name is Jacob. Jacob was Israel. Jacob was the father of the 12 tribes. And he was the grandson of Abraham. So we're talking like kind of old school. So it's a generation gap between the Zoomer and the Boomer, the Zoomer and the Gen X, the older Gen Xer. The wolf character is a bit older than me. And so there's a lot going on, but it's subtle. And there's a lot that is easily missed if a person just kind of reads it on the surface and says, oh, that was shorter than I was hoping that there would be more of this book because I was enjoying reading it. But the thing is, I said everything. I said 100% and not 101 of what I wanted to say. I didn't say 99%. I didn't say 101%. Everything is in the book. It's exactly finished. People want me to write a sequel. It's not going to happen because these aren't just like goofy characters for a new show. This is me communicating with my dad, letting him know that he wrote a book when he was in his former life. And so that's basically it. The message of compassion, I saw a video recently where someone was interviewing a Buddhist monk, and they said, so Buddhists believe in reincarnation? Do you have to believe in reincarnation to be Buddhist? And the monk stopped and he said, what it is that person in your life that you are angry at, that you have an issue with, might be your mother. Like that, like beyond, do you believe in reincarnation? Beyond, is it real? You know, like just stop and think that this person who cut you off on the freeway could have been your mother in a former life. And so in that way, it's an offering of a little bit of perspective, or an offering of that same kind of compassion message, where the young left tuber, he's a young liberal YouTuber who's always out there ranting against how evil the right-wingers are, you know, the political right-wingers in America. And so this ultimate, you know, symbol of the political right-winger in the QAnon shaman, the one who stormed the Capitol and everything, could be your own son, you know, and that he might have followed your advice, young man, and it was your advice that led him to exactly who he is today. And that's really kind of, I think, the heart of it. Beyond my own personal thing with my own specific dad, that was the crux of it. It's specifically directed to present day American political things, and how people divide and polarize based on these issues, and they identify with their political party as their identity, and they hate the people who support that other political party. And so it's an offering of peace, you know, to that. They don't end up agreeing. The wolf doesn't convince Thomas that the wolf is right, and Thomas doesn't convince the wolf that Thomas is right about political issues. But they find common ground. And also, one last thing it does is, there's a trope in the US where the southern states person, you can even find it in that recent movie, Don't Look Up, where when they show all the dumb people that are gonna, they're not looking up even though there's a comet, because they're so dumb. They're southern. They're from the South.
Yeah.
They have southern accents. They wear southern styles of clothes, and they listen to country music. And so that's the last accepted form of racism in the United States, is you're not supposed to be racist against people who are Black or Asian or Hispanic or any of these people, but feel free to, you know, depict Southern people because they're poor. They have funny accents. They're poor, and they're maybe they're less educated, or they think in terms of old types of racism and stuff like that. So just mock the hell out of them. They're rednecks. They're you know, so what I did was I made Wolf more intelligent. I made the wolf more intelligent than Thomas, and I made him actually make some really good points that are my points, actually. So if I met this young man that maybe didn't take me seriously because I'm not atheist, or didn't take me seriously because I'm not woke enough, or I'm not following the script of all the things you're supposed to do and not supposed to do. Not just constantly apologizing for the color of my skin or for the terrible things that my ancestors' distant cousins did, then I should be disregarded. And so I was saying, well, if I had my dad's ear, if I had this young man's ear, and he gave me 5 minutes to impart whatever wisdom I as a Gen Xer, or I as me, Edward, would have to impart, what would I say? So I wove that in to what the wolf says. And so it's a little unexpected, because people would assume that oh, well, Thomas is obviously the good guy and right, and the wolf is obviously insane and wrong, and it's a story about how we're all going to learn how stupid this southerner is, this man with a southern accent, because I've used the accents and some of the terminology to show that this guy who's standing talking about how proud he is of being descendant of Vikings and descendant of Celts has a little bit of a southern accent, so everybody's expecting him to be a joke. And he's funny, he's interesting, but he's also kind of deep, and he has some deep issues, and he has deep love and respect for his father. So when he has a moment too where he realizes that this kid who's been mocking him on YouTube is his dad. And so you see him kind of break down and absorb that information, and he puts his head down, and he can't even talk for a while. First he's crying, and then he's laughing, and then finally he says, "Follow me." And then he takes Thomas to the place where he reveals to him who he is, and then gives him the book that he wrote, which is basically this book. So that's Thomas and the Wolf. That's basically the whole story. I wrote it for my dad. Awesome. It says on the first page, "For my dad." It doesn't mean dedicated to my dad. It means, no, this is, if you read it and enjoyed it, great. It's not for you, it's for my dad. I'm hoping he'll read it one day. He'd probably be somewhere between 24 and 26 now. The other day I met a man at a local shop. I went to go shopping for a present for Pew, and he was, we were getting along, and then he asked me how old I was, and I said 43, and I could tell he was like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm only 26." And I said, "You could be my dad." And he looked at me and he said, "You really know how to talk to people." Like, just to kind of switch that around in one phrase, he's like thinking, "Oh, well, you're an older person, you probably think I'm a young man who," and I was like, "You could be my dad." Like, I don't think that I have any less respect for you because you're 26. In fact, that makes you more interesting to me, because you might literally be my dad.
Oh, that's nice. That's beautiful. See, I like your concepts a lot, especially that intergalactic coffee
Interdimensional
house, and interdimensional coffee house, and this one as well.
Thank you.
It defies time. You're calling might be kind of a feeling that you're summoning a spirit out of the eternity, the same spirit which was there with you at some point, and in a changed form.
Yeah.
First as a father, then maybe as your brother or kid or someone that this is a book that you wrote. Did I write this? Then you tell him the stories and the chronicles, adventures of his times that he did.
Of himself.
Yeah.
He always told me I was the reincarnation of his father, Dan Reib. I'm going to write a book about him, hopefully starting this summer. So I had this idea that, oh, well, he was my dad, I was his dad, then I'll have a son and he'll be my son. So I had to overcome it, because in our present, the way Priyal and I are, we're not planning to have children. but I had a little bit of a thing left that somehow I needed to have a kid in order to pass on the Reib name, you know, or whatever, or in order for my dad to be my son or whatever. And I had to kind of like eventually like let that go with the wind, you know, with the dust of the graveyard, you know, in order to come into the joy of the freedom of our lives. You know, been bound to some contract I never agreed to, you know. It's not good.
Yeah.
There's a billion people. I don't need to like dedicate 18 years or plus of my life and all of my soul's energy in order to add one more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We are already pretty much into a loop. So we cannot keep on adding the energy to the loop. You know, even our responsibility is to get our ancestors free from this loop. That I am trying to get free, you also get free from this loop.
Yeah.
This is the offerings to the ancestors. Those who are stuck in the loop and they are in a different ancestral world, they should accept the offerings. Otherwise, I pray for them as well to get out of here from the loop to the other higher worlds and stuff like that.
Or to be free.
But might be sometimes to complete the story, you know. See, for example, see it as a bigger picture. That,
I mean,
there are duties on this planet.
It's not popular because so many people suffer and there's so much disparity and economic disparity. It's not popular to describe life and incarnation as a game. You know, but I think that, I mean, I wrote a poem that kind of described like, I'm going to go back. I'm going to reincarnate. Oh, I love it down there. It's so much fun. You know, like that kind of thing. Like not like, I am a bodhisattva. And so as I'm, you know, flagellating myself, for you, I'm going to reincarnate and suffer again just because, you know, blah, blah, blah. Versus, oh, I'm stuck and stupid and trapped and I'm just reincarnating because I'm not enlightened. Like, are those really the only two options? Surely there must be a third option, you know, like
there must be a third
I like
option.
That ride. I'm going to go back on that roller coaster. That was fun.
Yeah.
Even
exactly.
the painful parts.
It's your choice. It should be your choice, ideally. Yeah. Otherwise, it's a torture room. Now, when I when I meditate and I pray, then I pray as well that you reveal it to me someday when you are there in front of me. Then you reveal it to me. Either this is a torture house, or either you gave choices. And if you have given the choices, then tell me the buttons, because I don't have any clue of the buttons, which buttons to push.
In the Golden Dawn, we say, by names and images are all powers awakened and reawakened. So those are the shape of the button, you know, is the symbol. So the symbol on your head is the shape of his teachings, you know.
Exactly.
So, I love that. Here I have my...
They have given a hidden sigil and insignias of the same.
My dad's class ring.
Which stone is that?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe a sapphire? This was my dad's ring. I'm not sure.
That's great.
I'd have to get a Ouija board or, you know, something to ask him, but or an expert to look at it. It's blue at any rate. I think it got chipped somewhere along the line. It must have gotten dropped and broke, but I didn't realize
I'm working a lot on crystals nowadays. So I was trying to identify what stone is that, because some of the stones, like, this is something different. I haven't seen anything like this.
I think in the move from Goa, it got damaged because this is
that a blue sapphire?
Yeah, star sapphire maybe. This is the first time I've noticed a chip in it. Well, you know, things happen. It's like I was saying about Vajrayogini on the sand mandala. Even my dad's ring is a thing, you know, that ultimately is going to return to dust. So I used to teach this method where where based on the altar burnt offering symbolism, which is they would sacrifice animals in the old days in the Bible, and so I have people stand before a cauldron of fire, and anything they think of. I mean, I usually wouldn't say it out loud, but like, you know, if it's your own mother, if it's your lover, your wife, your child, your baby, throw the baby in, you know, like, I mean, I would let people come to that on their own. I don't like tell people that, except for right now, I'm telling people that because I'm talking to you and in the context of this whole conversation. But then I clarify, you're not doing black magic to harm your baby. You're not doing black magic to kill your mother. What you're doing is you're fast forwarding your soul to the point on the timeline where your own mother is dust, you know, and where that baby is dust, and where this class ring is dust. And so we're just the lightning path, right? We're gonna throw it in the fire. My favorite doll, my favorite soft toy. Oh my God, it breaks my heart to imagine like throwing it in the fire. But as part of this exercise, I would have to do it, and not only do it, but I would have to endure the real emotions that come up as a result of it, and then get past them, and then, you know, good, bad, you know, attached, unattached, irrelevant, whatever it is, throw it in the fire until there's nothing left. And then only when there's nothing left, then you yourself climb in and you feel and smell the cooking of the muscles of your body, and then eventually your bones explode. And then there's nothing left but the smoke rising up to that highest star. And so I would lead that meditation before any ritual work, just to get people into the astral, to get people out of the, I mean, it's not even the physical world. It's like their microcosm, that microcosmic tiny world within the human senses experiencing the physical world. It's like not even the physical world. If you can get to the physical world, you're like, you've gone really far, you know, like you're almost there if you're in the physical world. Most people are just in a record of their own sense data and trying to find meaning and identity in the records of their sense data. And you know, it's like that's so far away from the goal, you know, that it's like ridiculous. And so I would do this exercise, which really fits with the theme of our conversation, I think. So yeah, that's something that I'm genuinely going through right now, finding out my dad's class ring stone is chipped.
Yeah.
But it's
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And
it's an opportunity to
you have to try to see which
and,
stone it is.
Yeah, I think it's a star sapphire. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because it's quite different.
Yeah.
Blue sapphire or Neelam, what we call here, it here, Neelam, and that's something different. And this one looks very different.
Yeah. And well, when you're here, I'll show it to you.
Yeah, surely.
When on Valentine's Day of, I believe, probably 1985, I gave my dad this little wizard, and he had a crystal ball in his other hand, but his other hand has since broken off. And that was one of the only two times did I ever see my dad cry. One of them was when I gave him this for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And he said he always made it face north. And I said, but why are you making it face north? Make it face you. And so, of course, these days I always have him facing north. So, yeah, good stuff.
Yep. I like the wizard energies as well. And I connected very much with this word wizard.
You're called the wizard, aren't you? In a certain context?
Yeah, kind of. You know, people started me because I used to write the whiz, something like that, at my bottom, or the wizard. So people used to ask me that, have you been given this title? Oh, well, you're using it for yourself, or what do you want to do? Because people connect with the word occultist if you are, you know, serious, or if you are serious, then they would prefer the word adept.
Right.
Yeah. Or this occultists, even the sorcerers, are, taken in another way.
Yeah.
So in the intellectual circles, occultists, or you can say the magician, or this
Scholars or yeah.
yeah, scholars or something like that. So this kind of word is used. So I used to tell people that as a, as the same thing that I told you, that I feel it as a responsibility that we are on this earth. You just go for a walk on the road, and you will see a hell lot of stupidities happening without any reason.
Yeah.
And we are flaming and firing all those stupidities. Yeah. And there are thousands of misconceptions and misunderstandings happening because we just cannot comprehend. If we cannot comprehend our own race, then
Yeah.
what if the higher message comes, and what if some flying saucer comes and there are some different beings coming out there, if we are not able to comprehend our own race?
Yeah.
Yeah, while buying certain stuff in a shop, or getting a hotel room booked, or purchasing something, or getting some kind of property deal, or whatever, even with the person that we are living for 5 years, 6 years, then you get separated. A
Yeah.
lot of hurt, lot of misconceptions, lot of guilty that happened. Why did that happen? Because of human stupidity. So
Yeah.
wizard is not my title, it's responsibility for which I came. I'm not here to become a bloody fool, I'm here to become a wizard.
Yeah.
So only then I would not be a burden on this planet.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, so this is how I describe a wizard. Wizard means a wise man. Very simple. But only in magical terms, a wise man, a wizard means who knows the subtle magic, or the energies, the flow of energies, how it is working at the back end. Like Nikola Tesla says, that if you see everything as
Oh
the terms
yeah.
of energy, then you would understand the formula of 3, 6, and 9,
Mm.
how it describes the whole universe.
3, 6, and 9.
3, 6, and 9, I can only understand a little bit of 3 part, because it describes the Father, Soul, Son, and the Holy Spirit,
Okay. Yeah.
Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, and the Holy Trinity, the triangle.
Yeah.
And why a triangle? Because in mathematics, the two lines cannot create an enclosed figure. 2 points cannot create an enclosed figure. So the first enclosed figure is a triangle, which is a creation. So symbol of creation is a triangle. 3 points and 3 lines are required. So
Yeah.
that is the main point of 3. But then comes the 6, and then comes the 9. I don't have any clue of why 6 is important and why 9 is important. But there has to be some kind of very deep mystery in what Nikola Tesla said
Oh,
regarding this as well.
interesting. Wow. Huh. I didn't realize that was Nikola Tesla. There's in the Chaldean oracles of Zoroaster, which are neither Chaldean nor of Zoroaster, but that's beside the point. It talks about the monad, and then where the monad is enlarged is the duad, and then there's the triad, which glittereth with intellectual sections and have multivarious forms, and then crossed with the currents reflected in like the waters of creation, that the 3 was reflected into the 6, and then there's some like interesting tree of life things happening with the supernal triangle, the ethical triangle, and the astral triangle, and then the whole thing coming together into the number 10, which is the completion of Malkut.
The completion,
Yeah,
exactly,
very
exactly.
interesting. Wow.
Still, we can relate a little bit in terms of tarot, but
abstractly.
how did
But what was Tesla talking about? That's the question. Yeah.
That's the question. Exactly.
Jack Parsons
because
was
he
another
was
one,
also
but he
beyond.
was pretty wild.
And he was underrated. Maybe he didn't get the credit for what he did at those times.
At that time. But now everybody
At
loves
that time.
him. Yeah.
Everybody loves him, especially in occult communities.
Yeah.
Also, the H.P. Lovecraft, his stories are more like genius stories of cosmic horror genre.
Yeah.
And but also I have heard that uh, Hollywood have banned all his stories. Hence, all the movies, the proper movies, Hollywood movies, which were made on his concepts. Like there was a movie called Reanimator. Yeah, and there are many other movies which were the Dunwich Horror and the Call of Cthulhu. There are many movies which were made on his concepts. They're all removed from YouTube and all the other channels. I don't know why, but his genre is quite haunting. Might be because of his racism or why he was racist.
Maybe. Yeah,
Because
he might have gotten canceled in retrospect or in retroactively. Or yeah, you might be
yeah,
right. It might be that people are reporting because YouTube is trying to like they removed the dislike buttons because people get so many dislikes and then they commit suicide. So their answer is let's get rid of the dislikes. So maybe yeah, well
yeah,
there's a correlation between people watching Lovecraft and then committing suicide. So now we're going to
yeah,
get rid of Lovecraft, and it might be that.
did that happen? I mean, the people did committed suicides after watching
I
his
mean, it might
movies.
be like that would be one thing that I could wrap my mind around why YouTube would remove it, or why maybe it would be taken off of any other platforms or whatnot. Some things just aren't. I mean, there's things like the old Max Headrooms. They're very pointed like criticism of aspects of media itself, and
Yeah,
they're really difficult to find. You can't find them, but the thing is, if you do find them and then you upload it to YouTube, you can't upload it to YouTube because it's copyrighted. Nobody's allowed to
yeah,
watch it. They have the copyright so they can make sure that nobody can watch it, and you can't even find it anywhere. So you can order
exactly,
it on
exactly.
DVD, but who's going to order it on DVD?
But yeah, you can say because uh, I have seen that his stories, some of his concepts in his stories, the cosmic horror stuff, the way he projected it, even the Luciferians in the Luciferian way, it came from the Greco-Roman concept of the Luciferian light, the light being, and uh, the Gnostic concepts. That's where Luciferian came from, and then it got entered into Christianity. So the Luciferian aspect, I understand, it's much more of the brighter side, but his stories are a genius. That they're beyond life, but it makes a human mind a little bit negative as well. That
Right.
all these cosmic higher beings are definitely playing with our minds, and you will be able to relate with it because it's already happening.
It might
But
be
we have
triggering people who have certain types of mental, illness or disabilities
illness. Yes, yes,
or
exactly, exactly.
schizophrenia,
Might
this
be
kind of
because,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, because it is larger than life and it is beyond. And if you see the God concept, his name is Azathoth, and he's a blind God, and he does not have any connection with anything. He created everything. Everything was created out of it, but he is not benevolent. He is totally neutral in his blind God, and he does not have any connections for anyone. you know and
Yeah.
he is knower of everything, but yet he has not got any connections of benevolent. So just opposite to the Christian concept
Right.
of Yeshua, that
Yeah.
it's energy beyond, and it's
Loving.
benevolent,
Yeah.
loving, and yes, there. If you see the brighter side, it has got connection with everything. You know, it's just that which wolf we give food to. If we're giving
Right.
food to the black wolf, like the H.P. Lovecraft theory, it is beautiful, it is larger than life, but then what kind of creatures starts crawling around you from the other
Yeah.
worlds,
Yeah.
you won't know. And
Wow.
the other theory, they are also talking about the eternal eternal being, but then, only the thinking is changing. The notions are changing. It's the brighter side.
How
Might
interesting.
be, yeah. It's playing with the psychology. And I will tell you the one another movie. First movie that you have to watch is The Ninth Gate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other movie which plays with mind and which is quite, which has got a bad name for people committing suicide after watching that movies. And there are a lot of movie halls which got burnt because this movie was played there. And this movie has got very deep symbolic, sigils of Astaroth
Oh.
and different other Azazel and Astaroth and many other deities. Yeah, it comes for a blink, like grains of TV. The old,
It's which
like in
movie?
the old movies, there are grains. Yeah,
What's the name of the
on TV
movie?
on the Antrum,
The
Antrum,
Antrim. Okay. We just finished watching.
Antrum.
We just finished watching Archive 81, which was really well done. I mean, I won't spoil too much of it, but I'll just say they took a lot of interesting things and wove them together in an interesting way. And the thing that the occultists are excited about is they mentioned the Agape Lodge in Pasadena once at one point. But there were a lot of things a lot of interesting theories and ideas and conspiracy things and metaphysical ideas and paranoid ideas, and they just, I mean, it's amazing that you could put so many things into one piece of art and have it not feel cluttered. But they did. It felt nice. I mean, it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch. It's supposedly horror, but I think for me, it was just interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, I also had one thing in mind,
Yeah.
which I admire a lot. And the same philosophy I follow myself too, because even if you talk about the old organizations, then there is a lot of system in that, like Golden Dawn. And even in our Aghori sects, a lot of things were forbidden to tell, And what you are doing is more like Bruce Lee, he's breaking the covenant of not telling his sacred martial arts to everyone or
Right.
Americans or the UK people or the world or Europe. He's breaking the covenant. You're also, and I am also breaking the covenant. And we are telling a lot of stuff nowadays. Aghoris are not following that thing, but there are many secret societies which are not easy to reach. And I have heard that in Kamakya, there are animal sacrifices. And beyond that, there is a village. The name is Mayong. And this village is a kind of village where if you go unknowingly without any guide, I have heard the stories that there are human cannibalism and sacrifices as well. So there are many secret sects. There is one of my female friends, she's living in Jharkhand. There is a place in Bihar which is called Jharkhand. So just 5-6 hours drive from her home is a village, and there's a very bad name to the village that men cannot enter into that village. There are women living there with certain secret rituals, and they have sex with them, and then like black widow spider, they eat their own husband after laying eggs inside. So this kind of cannibalistic tantra is there in nature as well, but it's in certain sects where they don't have to. They have to keep mum of their rituals. In Aghori sects as well, there are many secret sects which don't reveal their stuff, but our masters and our gurus and many other sects. And recently I came in contact with the head of all India Aghori Federation. He used to talk to me. His name is Adeshnath. You can see his videos on YouTube.
Okay.
And he is talking
We'll
about,
put them up here. All right.
yeah, surely. I'll be going to Gujarat. Yeah. And I'll tell you, and once I'll be there, I'll try to keep him in by my side, Adeshnath, and might be I will take some rituals, and I will take some. I will give him his offerings, and then I will take initiations from him as well. Yeah, those are my plans. But he is very knowledgeable about a lot of stories around what are the stories and what is the reality of Aghor, and
Yeah.
the old mythical stuff, what is actually the reality.
Huh.
So yeah, there are a lot of sects which are keeping mum, but many of us are opening up about a lot of rituals, because at the end it is for everyone. Yeah, only it's your responsibility to, if you have AK-47 in your hand, then you're not going to fire it on everybody. It's for protection of people, you're not going to fire it on everyone. So this is not what we're going to do. It's our responsibility not to do the painful magic or stuff like that.
Yeah, in my mind, it's. I mean, I think that if there's something that I've revealed or helped to reveal through this platform that an evil man can use in an evil, manipulative way, I don't know. But if there is, I think that that is less by a lot than the fact that there are people who are interested in these things, who don't want to join any of these cults or any of these organizations with their social hierarchies, and where you have to like act a certain way, be a certain way, subscribe to a certain, this or that, in order to finally maybe one day get the information, which it turns out was stupid to begin with. Or people who had like maybe had wondered about, oh, is this related to this? And then to have you and I come on here and say, absolutely, these two things are totally related, and here's why. And then further, this is, and so for them, the benefits for me, in my mind, the benefits of doing this by far outweigh the possible, dangers or drawbacks. I don't think we're giving anyone an AK-47 with this, but I think that we might help even just someone to feel less alone. Maybe somebody who watched Lovecraft and they're starting to have suicidal thoughts will watch this and say, we didn't answer any questions, we didn't explain it, but we talked about it and we addressed it, and then like maybe that will help them, or maybe maybe someone's going through some horrible experience of impermanence where they've just lost a loved one or something like that, and then they can hear this, and because it's one thing to see a meme that says, oh, well, let it go because everything's temporary. Okay, screw you. But like to hear us really get down into it and why that's wisdom and how that's related to Buddhism, and and the different forms that it can take and the different forms that it does take, and how that's affected us in our lives, and all of this can help people. I mean, paradoxically, to feel commonality, to feel community, to feel not so alone in their loneliness, and not so alone in being alone, not so alone in the fact that there is loneliness that we all share, or to experience a togetherness in present time of the experience of impermanence and loss. All of these things are
exactly.
It's a net positive, so that's how I look at it, I think. And I mean, so many of the things that I've so-called revealed were revealed already by Crowley. I reveal some of the things about the specific group that I came from that maybe have never been revealed, but they're more just as like, not as like great secrets or anything, but like an interesting case study in human behavior and cults, and specifically in Golden Dawn reenactment cults. I've met enough of them to know that that they're similar to ego trips and games and that go on in smaller Golden Dawn reenactment cults and in more than one of the bigger ones. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's good. I mean, but ultimately, it's also just a nice excuse to talk to people and to talk to people who have similar interests.
Exactly. It's also kind of networking with kind of the same coffee house that you're talking about.
Exactly.
People of
Yeah. This is what I envision as the sorts of conversations that might go on at that interdimensional coffee house, as opposed to the really inane and dumb. When I would go out, when I was a kid. I mean, this is inspired by the fact that I used to go to coffee houses all the time, and one of my great mentors, Gordon Beam, was quite famously ran, at least Pasadena famous. Jack Parsons is Pasadena famous. Gordon Beam is Pasadena famous. He ran the Espresso Bar, which was there from the late 80s until the mid 90s, or even the late 70s until the mid 90s. And so all the kids that grew up in that generation, before they were old enough to go to bars, they went to the Espresso Bar and read poetry and wrote poetry and drank coffee and listened to Gordon Beam rant and rave about Jack Parsons, among other things. Anyway, but yeah, so that kind of inspired my love of that imagery. And then, but yeah, occasionally I would have a nice caffeine-fueled, connection with a stranger, with someone I never even got their name and don't even know where they're from, but a connection was made, and so just kind of expanding that to include the multiverse, and all of that is, a beautiful thing, I think.
yeah, and this concept of initiation, of self-initiation, it was already there. It was already there. It didn't came new, and there are rituals in Aghori as well that people can get self-initiated, and ritual is just the body. You add soul into it through your feelings,
Yeah.
through your energy. And in ritual, you should know what represents what. Only then it becomes powerful. Yeah. In
Yeah.
our ritual, I'll tell, in this session, I would like to tell one very beautiful thing that Hindus can do. You know, in Hindus, one point which everyone agrees to and everyone lays emphasis on, and all the gods revolve around that energy, is Shivlingam. It is the primal thing. Shivlingam, lingam is not Shiva's penis or something. Lingam in old Hindi language, linga means symbol. Now, question is symbol of what? Linga is a symbol, but symbol of what? Symbol of what? Now, it's a symbol of a story of origins, of Genesis. That's lingam. Yeah. Below at the base is the point zero, the absolute nothingness, the god Nu or Nunu of Kemet of Egypt. Yeah. Or the Greek chaos, the chaos.
Or Ein, the veil of negative existence. Ku in the Gnostic Church of the Black Sun down in South Africa, they'd call it Ku.
Cool. Exactly. Oh, they gave me that mantra while I was chatting with those people. Yeah, there was a black guy who was chatting with me, and I gave him my mantra, and he gave me his mantra. He didn't tell me the meaning at that point of time, because he went offline, and then we didn't got time to talk together. But ku ho hu was his chant that he used to do.
Yeah.
So the base is absolutely nothingness.
It's
in
Kuho Yu. It's spelled like Kuho Hu, but the HO is
Kuho. Okay.
Kuho Yu.
Kuho you.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And what is ho and what is you?
It's the other two veils of negative existence. Ku
Oh,
Ku is
okay.
no thing, and then Ho is no limits, and
Okay.
then You is limitless light. Basically,
Wow.
it loosely can translate one to one into those three.
Exactly. Exactly. So I can relate it a lot with their spirituality in Kuho Hu concept, Kuho Yu concept, and there is a explanation of Egyptian Ankh concept and this Shivalingam. So it's the origin point. The base is absolutely nothingness, and from absolutely nothingness, the 0 point, something happens. The eternal force creates something, and there is a huge lingam. Nobody knows what it is, but it's a lingam because we don't understand about it. Hence, we give it a name, a lingam. Yeah. Now that lingam, because to create everything, definitely some debris is required, some raw material is required to create something. So the lingam contains everything that you can think of or you cannot think of. It's the potential. It's just the potential. Lingam has everything. From nothingness comes the lingam, and from
Yeah.
lingam comes the forms. Lingam itself is beyond chaos, it's chaos. From absolutely nothingness, from the god Nu comes the first energy, which is the darkness and which is apophis. Ho, opis, the pitch darkness, which is unstable, but which has got all the limits, all the energies. Everything is inside, but it doesn't have any form. It's just a chaos.
Yeah.
But it has a potential. From the heart of Apophis, something happens. That first stable energy comes, which is Atum. Yeah, in the same way, from the lingam, from the limitless potential, the first forms come, which is Shiva and Shakti, Purush and Prakriti, male god and the feminine aspect, whatever it is. It's a beautiful theory. So it's a guru, it's a living guru, it's the living point of origins. So you can get human gurus later, but if you don't have the human gurus, you go to the origins, you go to the Shivlingam. Yeah, write a letter on a plain page. It's a self-initiation process. Write a letter, write your signature in the letter, in an application, write all the feelings, make it precise, and rewrite the same letter with a wooden stick, with handmade ink that you make at home. So in that ink, what you use? You light your altar, you light candle, you light everything. Yeah, you use all your essence, whatever you use. Yeah, call upon your gods, your energies, your way. Yeah, create that ink, add a little bit of turmeric, turmeric powder, add a little bit of salt, add a little bit of red sindoor, that women,
Yeah.
Indian women apply here, kumkum, red powder is added there. Add a little bit of milk and cow urine if it is available, and Ganga Jal, it is available, Ganga water. Mix it all, you know, pray your prayers, say your prayers, dip that wooden stick inside and rewrite your letter, whatever you have written on that application. Yeah, say your initiation prayer, you know, uh, put your thumbprint with that ink on your signature, put your signature and then your thumbprint, seal it with your God's name, whatever you chant, be it Shiva, be it Christ, be it whosoever, you know,
Yeah.
seal it with your God's name, rewrite that initiation 3 or 4 times, and then go to Shivlingam, recite it, and put that letter on Shivlingam. Give your offerings there.
Okay, so picking up where we left off.
Yep. So we were talking about, because we were talking about the initiations process. We were talking about how some lights of Lucifer are not obeying the order, and they are creating something different, and they are showing the torch to everyone. So this is somewhere necessary as well, because many modules, how did this NLP and neuro-linguistic programming and Akashic records and many other different programs came into picture? Definitely, it came from the knowledge of Freemasonry, Golden Dawn, Aghor, Nath Sampradaya, Buddhist, whatever they used to do, and witchcraft and older wisdoms. All these modern things came into picture in much more scientific way. Had it been the case that people didn't have access to any of these things at all, so these courses would also not be available in much more modern format, which is quite understandable, much more understandable for people.
Yeah.
It is because of some people who dared to speak and who did their study, made their modules, created a methodology, and told it to people, initiated people in that. So as you initiated a lot of people out of your sect and your ways, and now, even though being a member of a reputed society like Golden Dawn with a management and hierarchy, you still are an individual, and individuality holds its place, because we are doing our own work now. And being into different orders, Aghori order or whatever order that I'm in, we dare to tell and speak, and we understand the significance of initiation, what it is, and I think it holds an importance. And sometimes people ask me, there are a lot of debates that why is guru necessary and why is master necessary? Is initiation important or not important? So the same question has been answered by Master Osho, that those people who have received many people in their life, and they have got guidance like a silver spoon in their mouth, they would say that master is not important, because cosmos, they don't understand that cosmos have already provided them many gurus.
Right.
So obviously you would say that guru is not important because you are already getting it. But those people who are not getting any wisdom from anywhere, and they have to start from zero all over again, and then there are many people who break their confidence. Now this information is incorrect, now you have to read something else, or we will give you new initiation. So those kind of people, they definitely need a master, because many people have created confusions in their mind. So this is right or this is right. So those kind of people need a master. So initiation is important. It's a stamp. It's a psychological stamp which pushes you, and literally you're standing on, a mountain cliff, and initiation is that I'm standing at your back and I'm, kicking on your back and making you jump into the ocean. That's initiation. Otherwise, I ask my people or whatever students who can come to me, do you think that the ritual that I'm doing, it's much more magical than the act that your mom and dad did in order to give you birth? And they summoned a ghost into your mom's stomach and after 9 months a ghost take a human form and comes into picture. Isn't that initiation? Isn't that initiation?
Yeah,
And that's
yeah, for sure.
much more magical than
Yeah,
what I did.
yeah.
Yeah, I am pushing you off the cliff, and I'm putting a psychological and spiritual stamp. Yes, there are energies, there are fire rituals, there are energies which appears, and then it starts coming into people's dream as well. But it's also a very psychological stamp that it gives a confidence to people that yes, now they're on a path. Nobody can
Yeah,
confuse them then.
yeah.
Okay, no, this is wrong and this is right. Now there is a psychological stamp of a master. No, doesn't matter who says what. You follow the path because you are initiated now. So it's a stamp. It's a psychological stamp because there are a lot of confusions out there. So people would not be able to sustain one path. People start meditating one way and they shift to the prayer ways, and from the prayer ways they start gazing into candle and lord knows what. So
Yeah.
there is no one fixed method that people do because of confusions, because sometimes somebody says another thing, another one says another thing, you know. So initiation is important and it's not important. I feel the person who is intellectual and who can read between the lines and who has got the gift, they don't need any initiation, but initiation is still happening with them in another way. It's a cosmic event for them, and initiation is not one time, it's a lifelong process. It keeps on happening till the time you attain what you are, you know, what you are present to attain here. And even after that, who knows what process keeps on happening. If this world is dynamic
Yeah.
and it's here for eternity, since eternity, from eons of time, we cannot calculate it, then even initiation is endless process and it keeps on happening.
Yeah.
So we're here to kick people off the airplane and off the cliff so that they have a stamp that, hey, nothing happens. Somebody has kicked you, they have initiated you, you jump into the cliff, nothing happens, you didn't die. You just know, understand how to swim.
Yeah.
You understand
Yeah.
how to dive. That's it. Yeah. So this is what is initiation for us. There are deeper processes as well, forbidden processes. All those, jargons are there. But initiation means take the step. You dare to take the step. You dare to go into the woods. Once you go into the woods, then woods are going to tell you what they hold inside them. You will get the knowledge. So the initiation in many different sects are different. Our Aghor system is different, but there is a very beautiful and powerful and simple way that I was about to tell.
Yeah,
That
you had described how to create the ink, and then you talked about bringing you make a copy of it and you recite it, and then it was, I think we cut out right then.
yeah.
So you recite it with the
Once,
Shiva Lingam?
yeah, recite it in front of. You go to the temple, recite this prayer 3 times or 4 times or how many times, whatever you feel like. Whenever till you get the energy, till you get the feel, till you get the vibe, you get into meditation. Till the time you can read, then go to temple, give the offerings to Shivlingam. Yeah, read it in front of the living Guru, which is the Shivalingam, the point of origins. Yeah, because your ancestors have given the value to that system. So
Yeah.
those energies revolve around you at those times when you're doing this process. Your ancestors, previous masters, millions of them, and the point of origins, which is Shivling. So you say your story in front of Shivlingam, and with the magical ink that you made with your own hand,
Yeah.
you come to home after giving offerings, put that in your cauldron, put a little camphor there. You can put a little bay leaf as well. Or if you have the betel leaf, pan, you can also put that over there and pray, burn that, light the fire, burn your initiation chit, the paper that you have created, and meditate there for some time and say your words in front of that fire to invite the beings, invite all the energies into the fire element, because it's one of the purest. It cannot get corrupted. It burns everything. It makes everything pure. So whatever the ashes are left, you use those ashes to put it on your whole body, your head, your throat, and your belly, your, on your arms. Then the whole day, just wear the clothes and do not take a bath for that day. That's it. This is the symbolic, putting the ashes of your prayers and your, this is symbolic initiation. This is self-initiation process that anybody can use in Hindus, in anyone can use it, And doesn't matter if in front of Shivling, you take the names of your Christian God and write the Christian God name in that paper that you have created for your initiation prayer. Doesn't matter. You can use any which ways, but you are in front of the point of origins, the feeling matters. That is a beautiful self-initiation process for those, and it is magical. I have seen that people transform, they start taking things seriously, and their routine gets settled down. And slowly, as the time passes, their meditation becomes deeper, and they go deeper inside their mind, body, and soul. So very beautiful process. Anybody can do it. And you call the names, you select the sect, all the gods. You feel that you are an Aghor, you are made for an Aghor, you are an Aghori, you are made for an Aghori sect, you feel like that, then say it in front of Shivlingam and in front of the sacred fires. If you feel that you are a disciple of Guru Gorakhnath or Michendranath or from Nath sect, you don't have any master. You're not getting any links like that. You say that in front of Shivlingam and in your sacred fires, you feel that you are in old times, you were a witch. Say that in front of whatever. Those energies are going to take over you, and they are going to enter in your life. Because Shivlingam listens all the calls. Since lifetimes, it has been listening to all the calls. Just like, in Mecca, there is a, place where there is a stone. Maybe that was a meteorite, and they believe that meteorite, whosoever has touched that meteorite holds all the hidden information about all the people. Whosoever have touched that stone, they call it Sange Hayat. Sange Hayat means stone from the heavenly abodes.
How interesting.
In the same way, it is there in Shivlingam, and especially if it is ancient Shivlingam. Some Shivlingams are created by reciting chants and rituals. They created with marbles, and crystals or mud, or with solidified mercury metal, something like that is there. Parad Shivling, which is called. So those Shivlings are also very powerful, but there are ancient Shivlings as well, like in Kedarnath, those are ancient ones. If you can do this thing in front of an actual living ancient Shivlingam, then it's very powerful. Or very beautiful if you can go on a trekking and do it in Kailasha. There are 5 Kailashas, so you can do it in any Kailashas or nearby place where is an ancient Shiva temple. You can search for it. And if it is an ancient Shiva temple, there is an ancient Shivling. It holds a lot of power.
Wow.
If you do it, Yeah.
I have a brother, spiritual brother, Robbie. Maybe you've seen him here on the podcast. He has been looking for a good teacher, guru, master to show him Mount Kailash. And he was interested, he was asking me about Sadhguru, and Pio and I gave our opinion on Sadhguru, which isn't totally negative, but it wasn't totally positive either. So he was asking if maybe I knew a better person to go on a tour of Mount Kailash. Is that something that you offer or do you know of someone who does?
I haven't went to Kailash myself, but I have went to Kedarnath. I have went to Kedarnath, but there are 5 Kailashes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
One is Adi Kailash. Another one is Shri Khand Mahadev. Yeah. Another one is Kinnar Kailash, and one is this Kailash Mansarovar. Yeah. And there are one Mani Mahesh Mahadev. 5 Kailashes are there. Yeah. So there are 3 or 4 Kailashes which are quite accessible to us, but very difficult, tough trek for 35 kilometers or 20 kilometers. Kinnar Kailash is bloody 45 to 50 kilometers trek. Only the local people attempt to go there, but it's a beautiful place and it gives you chills, but very powerful place, powerful place. But I am planning to go to Kailash myself someday. Yeah.
Very nice.
I personally don't know any gurus or masters who go there regularly and offer them to go to treks there and give the knowledge of Kailasha.
Right.
You have to find those people, because those people who are living in the plain areas, they will initiate you, they will give you the rituals, but they're not going to travel. They're not going to travel with you anywhere.
Right.
You go to them once again to ask for some other new ritual or meditation. They will tell you they're not going to travel with you.
Yeah.
And those traveling monks, they are different. They live in mountain areas.
Okay. Interesting. Maybe you, me, and he, when he's here in India, we can go on that or some other interesting trek.
Yeah. Obviously, surely we should do. And many mountain places are there, which are very, very magical and very powerful.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of places in my mind that I have to visit and meditate and do my rituals there.
Yeah. I'm hoping to go to Bodh Gaya this year.
Bodh Gaya.
Yeah.
That's also a very powerful place.
Yeah.
Living Buddha energy is there. It is there.
Very beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. It's been this is your 3rd time on here, and
it's my 3rd time.
I know we could probably keep talking for the rest of the day and into the night, but in the interest of keeping this episode under 4 hours, maybe we should wrap up. But
surely.
But we can definitely think of the things when we listen to this later. We'll take some notes and say, oh, we should have covered this issue. Oh, we should have covered this topic, and then we can do this again.
Exactly.
In person. And I look forward to seeing you when you come to Delhi. How long are you going to be up there? Because I seriously might be interested in coming up and seeing Punjab.
Maybe next month for next hearing.
Okay, you're coming down here just for a time and then going back, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you're not shifting to Delhi.
No, I'm not shifting to Delhi anytime soon.
Okay, then at some point for sure, I would like to come up there and.
Yeah, surely, anytime.
Yeah, I mean, I have a love of Guru Nanak, and I'm fascinated by that region, and on a few different levels. Some I'm in touch with, and some are intuitive. I think maybe I was there once. I don't know what the context was, if I was one of Alexander's men or what, but but yeah, it's definitely oh, and our neighborhood where we live is is 99% Punjab living
Okay.
here, and Sikh and Hindu. And so, I mean, I always felt, I just got a message actually while you and I were talking. I got a message from a man that I didn't realize was a student of my dad's. And here, I'll read it to you. You're familiar with Yogi Bhajan?
Yogi Bhajan, yes.
This man wrote, he noticed that I bought some books, and so he said Propaganda by Edward Bernays reminded me of books your dad recommended, cited by your dad in his English class at Pasadena City College. He did a whole...
Oh, he knew your daddy?
Oh, yeah. My dad taught for about 30 years at college, in a community college. So people, some people had him as a teacher and didn't like him because he was too strict or, angry at times. But other people were transformed by him, And so he says he did a whole unit on self-control in which we were supposed to write the question on one side of a flashcard and the answer on the other side, and then study the cards to achieve mastery. Some of the questions were, what should students remember about buying and knowing subjects they study? Or what is cognitive harmony? What is cognitive dissonance? What is the definition of compulsive belief-disbelief? What is the definition of compulsive conformity? What is a shielding pattern by definition? And then he says, I am copying these off a paper Mr. Reib passed out entitled Questions for the Self-Control Unit. I asked him to please take photocopies of these documents because I have a lot of my dad's old teachings, but not this. So Questions for the Self-Control Unit, the paper resurfaced when I was moving, etc. And then he wrote, once I started a Kundalini yoga club, Kundalini yoga, of course, being Yogi Bhajan's school. But I needed a faculty sponsor. Mr. Reib agreed to sponsor it, i.e. sign a paper, but first wondered why I wasn't studying or involved in the Christian mystical tradition. I had no answer for that, but wanted to bring Kundalini to PCC, and I knew Sikhs from the ashram in Altadena who agreed to lead the Kundalini sessions. So I just wrote back, interesting. He himself, especially in the 80s and 90s, was primarily focused on Buddhist and Hindu type philosophy and practices. I wrote, I have a feeling he was asking from a place of prompting self-reflection and analysis as to why it is people often gravitate away from the spiritual frames of reference of their upbringing to seek out answers from an entirely different place. Such great stories. Thank you for sharing, Sarbat Dabala. So yeah, that was while you and I were talking, he wrote that. So that seemed like something interesting to include, a message from the universe. So that's my dad instilled in me.
Have you met him personally? Did you
this man? I didn't even realize he was a student of my dad's. It happens sometimes. People find me and add me, and maybe at one point they make reference to it, but I forget, and then they share something like that. Really nice things. There was a guy who, back in the 60s, he was writing about how the media is, he believes that the media is making people more violent, and watching violent things on television and in movies is causing people to act out violently. And my dad loved the paper he wrote. It was like probably the early 60s or mid 1960s, or maybe I think it was 68. It was right after the two assassinations, famous assassinations, Martin Luther King Jr. and I think it was John F. Kennedy. But anyway, or maybe it was the other Kennedy, I forget the years exactly. But so my dad said, this needs to be published in the Los Angeles Times. And he said he drove this student to the Los Angeles Times and introduced him to the editor-in-chief, and then submitted the paperwork. And it was rejected, but the student who was writing to me said that act of showing that much faith as a teacher, not just to say this is great, it should be published, but I will drive you personally and I will introduce you to the editor-in-chief of the LA Times, really put him on the path as a writer. So I was very happy and proud to hear that story as well.
That's great. That's
Yeah,
great.
it's nice.
So
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of other topics which we could discuss later on.
Yeah,
But it was a beautiful discussion. It was very
absolutely.
good. And, there are a lot of things which I get inspired to write, just by talking and discussing. And after reading your father's book, I was inspired to write myself
Mm.
about the thoughts. Yeah. And because there are a lot of stuffs which were coming already, and I was jotting down a lot of notes scattered here and there
Mm.
in a different Google Drives documents, and I wanted to make chapter out of it. And uh, the format of Freemasonry texts,
Mm.
definitely Freemasonry texts are all hidden, not much, they don't reveal it much, but there are bits and pieces. There are a lot of coded poems that they write, as to, which explains the code of conduct, the ways and stuff like that,
Mm.
rituals and the meaning of life and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That format and the way the chapters in Bible are written,
Mm.
I was very much impressed by that, and I tried to uh, follow that light while I was writing.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Shiva, Kemetic gods, and Yeshua
Mm.
directly,
Mm.
that they're coming down through the pyramids and making me write all this.
Mm.
And hence the name came to me, the Game of Primal Forces,
Mm.
that you are a part of game. And there is an I, a triangle,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
same concept. Yeah, the
Mm.
Trinity, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And
Mm.
there is an I. That holy I is watching the game of chess, which is this manifestation, this earth.
Mm.
We are the part of the game. And whosoever will look at the cover that I have created, people will think, oh, that's related to Illuminati or something. But
Mm.
that is, the symbolic is related to Kemet and Yeshua and Bible, and
Mm.
the same concept is used there. So I
Very
was truly
nice.
inspired to write that book because of transformations
Mm.
and the
Very
words written
nice.
in it.
When I was younger, I wrote a short story that starts off with the gods playing poker with tarot cards, and then
Oh,
based on when each move they make, then it moves the plot forward of what's going
yeah,
on Earth with the hero.
beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, thank you
That's
very
nice.
much, and I look forward to seeing you next time you come down here. I look forward to spending some time with you up there as well, and
Surely, surely.
our next
When you come here,
episode.
then there will be the same beer parties and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's some, I imagine, some nice Sikh temples to see up there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Golden Temple is there, and I have a special temple for you, where Lord Guru Nanak
Oh,
used to meditate. The same river is there. The name is Kali Bain.
ah,
That river,
this
on
is
the
where he
banks of that
vanished.
river, yeah, that's where
Mm,
he vanished.
mm,
He got eloped.
wow.
For 62 years, his son, Baba Shri Chandra, meditated there. And
Mm,
for uh, maybe 6 to 10 years, Lord Guru Nanak meditated on the banks of that same river.
mm.
So it's a very powerful place.
I don't know, maybe I showed you these last time. Have you seen these?
Yeah, I've seen this in your videos that you create.
Yeah, the Sikh comics. So there's five of Guru Nanak, and there's one for a lot of the other gurus. Here he is when he's young, and then when he gets a bit older and he's on the path, and then
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's very seriously on the path here, and then he's getting older and traveling and preaching the word far and wide, and then this is the one where he's older and eventually where he passes away. So my knowledge of Guru Nanak, I have to admit, came from these books. I would love to find an English translation of the Guru. Forgive me, the Guru. What's it called? The book, the 11th
Guru Granth Sahib.
Guru Granth
Sahib.
Guru Granth Sahib. But I haven't found one yet. But one day I will, and I'll read it. I have a book about the book, but I don't have the book itself.
Yeah. So it's you'll find it in
parts,
editions and pieces.
Okay.
Because the whole book is considered
thick.
the living Guru.
Right.
Yeah, it's very thick and it's considered the living Guru.
I've seen them reading it, chanting it.
Yeah. And you'll see the whole setup of Gurudwara. Yeah, the way they take the book on their heads and they travel and they put it on the throne. It's the whole setup of old ways how Muslim kings used to settle down and conduct the courts. So it's a court of a king, and everything that they're doing with the fan and everything that they're doing and singing the chants, the whole same setup used to happen in front of the king's court. So we are treating that book as a king,
That's beautiful.
So hence that book, the whole book would be given to you in pieces, and then you can keep it at home. Otherwise, the whole book is considered a living light. So there are a lot of rituals.
So there's a reason you can't find it, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Very interesting. Wow. Yeah, it was, who was the 10th one? Guru Govind Singh?
Guru Govind Singh Ji.
Yeah. Are you related, by the way?
Yeah.
Amandeep Singh?
Yeah. We are from the same sect.
Okay.
And in fact, my maternal grandparents were musicians in the court of Guru Gobind Singh.
Wow.
The ancestors were. They were musicians. Hence, I am a musician. My mother is a musician. They
that's
like to
great.
sing, and
And Govind Singh also, this came from him, right? The kara?
Yeah, exactly.
And then the practice of revering the book and the book being the next guru came also from Guru Gobind Singh.
Exactly. Yeah.
How cool. So Nanak started the ball rolling. I'm mostly doing exposition for the people who aren't as familiar with Sikhism who are watching this.
Yeah.
There was Guru Nanak, and then there was 8 more gurus, and then there was Guru Gobind Singh, who was the one that you might see pictured as a warrior. He was having to.
Yeah.
They were in a struggle, and there was a lot of very heroic events of people being told to renounce their faith, and yet they continued to pray even while being boiled alive in oil, and just horrible forms of torture. So just like some of the most inspiring, just intense.
Very intense. This Sikh faith is very intense.
Yeah. Oh gosh, here in the neighborhood they do the fire dancing, and then the kids will come and do the sword fighting. I don't know what day they do that.
Yeah.
They seem to do it once a year, and a lot of fun.
This is called Gatka martial arts.
Oh, okay, cool. Very nice. Okay,
so we'll meet
and
soon. Share a lot of stuff.
Okay, we'll see you soon. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care. Cheers.
Cheers. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Amandeep Singh, for being our guest today on the Esoterinerd podcast. Special thanks to Susumu Ueda and his father and the other monks at Jofukuin on Mount Koyasan for the music you're hearing right now. It's a different part of the same track that was playing at the beginning of the episode. Special thanks also to Bhupendra Singh Aluwalaya, pardon the horrible butchering of the pronunciation of your name, for the artwork which was used on the main image of this episode of Guru Govind Singh. Special thanks to Camille and Kennerly for the harp intro and outro to the interview itself. Special thanks to Tangerine Dream for the music that was playing behind the recital of Transformations today. Most importantly, thank you to you, the Esoterinerd, listening to this podcast. I will close with the prayer which my father and I performed at the end of our morning meditations. To the north and to the south, to the east and to the west, to the spirits of light among us, and to the spirits below, we send out our reverent love and compassion. May all beings be happy. May all beings be serene. May all beings be in peace. Good night.